Stephen K. Bannon. And I urge you to take immediate action to protect your savings by opening a physical gold IRA with my friends at Birch Gold. I'm a Birch Gold customer myself, and they have my highest recommendation. Just text the word PROTECT to 989898, and they'll send you a free info kit on how to get started. In my opinion, gold IRAs are one of the best ways to protect your savings no matter what happens in America or around the world. And the best company to work with is Birch Gold. So text the word PROTECT to 989898 to get everything you need to know about protecting your savings with gold.
Tesla founder Elon Musk is offering to buy.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 6:03 right now. We do have some light rain falling in parts of the listening area this morning. The good news is we're going to see some dry time today, and we're going to need it. We have had a lot of rain in the last 48 hours, and we already had 4 inches of rain in March. We also have a possibility of some frost before 8 this morning. Our high around 62. Cloudy tonight with a low near 42 degrees. Right now, 37 in Columbia, 35 in Jefferson City. Good morning, everyone. Here's some of the stories we are working on for you in the 6 o'clock hour. Healthcare will be the main theme of today's UM Board of Curators meeting in Columbia. MU Health CEO Jonathan Curtright will update the board today. MU Health is building a new $232 million children's hospital. They've also made investments in towns like Boonville and Ashland. Today's meeting takes place at the $220 million Next Gen Precision Health Building. UM System President Dr. Moon Choi tells 93.9 The Eagle that he believes this facility will reduce the cost of health care. President Choi says clinicians and researchers work side by side in the Next Gen facility. Meantime, a collision between an Amtrak train and a pickup truck in mid-Missouri's Centertown yesterday evening caused traffic issues, but no injuries. Cole County Sheriff John Wheeler says he's thankful there were no injuries in Wednesday evening's collision. It happened at the Centertown Oak Street crossing. Centertown, a town of about 300. It is west of Jefferson City. It's actually a village, very small community. Missouri's lieutenant governor supports legislation aimed at stopping the Grain Belt Express line in North Missouri. Grain Belt plans to build a high-voltage transmission line across 8 counties. They include Randolph and Sheraton. Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe tells Wake Up Columbia he supports State Senator Jason Bean's bill aimed at blocking the project.
I can tell you that Senator Rowden has told me and many other people we will get to that bill. And so I think there's a path forward. But as you know, there's the Senate's been a little complex this year, and I know we'll get a chance to have some floor time on that bill.
Now, Invenergy and Grain Belt supporters see this project differently. They say it would be Missouri's largest ever energy infrastructure project. They also say it would deliver millions of dollars in annual energy savings for 39 Missouri towns. One of those towns, they say, would be Centralia, right here in Boone County. Thousands of people who will be traveling, or have been traveling, to Columbia for the cross-country events that took place last fall. Thousands more will be here for the 2025 NCAA Division I Men's and Women's Cross Country National Championships. That event will take place at Gans Creek here in Columbia. Mayor Brian Treese tells 93.9 The Eagle that Gans Creek is a premier course.
But more than that, we have thousands of high school athletes that come here every year to run on that course. And, you know, it's one of those clean economy things that creates jobs and hotel room nights.
Gans Creek is the home course for the University of Missouri. The recreation area also has multi-purpose sports game fields. In the state Senate has given final approval in Jefferson City to a bill that encourages Missourians to observe historically black college and university week in September. Kansas City State Senator Barbara Washington is the sponsor of the bipartisan bill. It'll be heard this morning by the House Higher Education Committee. Senator Washington's bill recognizes the importance of Jefferson City's Lincoln University and St. Louis's Harris Stowe. Those are the 2 historically black colleges and universities in Missouri. Her bill will be heard at about 10:30 this morning. Not often we see a senator testify before a House committee, but that happens about this time of the year once those bills cross over from one side of the rotunda to the other. Our news is brought to you this hour by AirServe Heating and Air Conditioning. For all of your heating needs, log on to airserve.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:07. Turning our attention now to sports. The rain was simply too much. It was a severe weather threat. Lots of issues in St. Louis, and no game. Bottom line, no scores for this morning because of what happened between the Cardinals and the Royals yesterday. Now, they will try to get that game replayed on May the 2nd. That's always tough to play these games in April. And that game, again, postponed until May the 2nd. So, Detroit is at Kansas City tonight. They should be able to get that game in. We may have a few sprinkles, but they should be able to get the game underway at Kauffman. 7:10 tonight in Kansas City. And then the Cardinals in Milwaukee open up a 4-game series today in Wisconsin. Wainwright on the hill for St. Louis. He won 17 games last year. First pitch 4:14 on 93.9 The Eagle. And again, you'll hear that game right here on 93.9. Kevin Wheeler will have your pregame coverage coming up this afternoon, 4:14 first pitch. Sports brought to you this hour by Willett Dental Associates. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is 6:08. All right, Nate, thank you. Good to hear your voice. We appreciate you. Right now, we do have clear skies, 37. Traffic check, midmohires.com. Local companies looking for local people, midmohires.com. Sunrise this morning, 6:34. It will set at 7:45. Roads are quiet right now in mid-Missouri. We'll have another update for you coming your way at 6:30. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
I had no idea with that African name that she would be married to a white man. One of my subscribers brought that to my attention. Our black sister, Supreme Court Justice, power to the people, is married to a white man. You see this fucking picture? I don't believe this shit. Oh, God. Wait a minute. There he is. White man. Black sister. Ketanji Taylor. Married to a white man.
That's the Subway mass shooter, Frank James, caught yesterday, the suspected mass shooter in the New York City subway, I should say, blowing up, distraught over the fact that Ketanji Brown Jackson, SCOTUS, she's going to be on the bench, Supreme Court of the United States of America. He's flipped his lid because his sister is married to a white man. We know this. The roles were reversed. We know what would be happening on CNN, MSNBC, USA Today, CBS, ABC, and NBC. We know what would be happening. There would be chaos in America right now. BLM would be out protesting everywhere and then collecting donations so that they can go buy more mansions in L.A. They'd probably be protesting again right in front of the Columbia Police Department, as they have done in the past, causing turmoil, assaulting people. If the roles were, and I hate to do that, I really do, if the roles were reversed, but it's true. And this guy, Frank James, who's black, by the way, and it shouldn't matter, I'm guessing he's got some mental issues. And I don't care what color he is. I really don't like to get into the race-baiting stuff. This is more about the way the news outlets cover things. If this were some white shooter and he was on video and had been, and by the way, all these videos have been out there very public. Apparently nobody said anything, but if it were a white individual saying, I can't believe so-and-so is married to a black chick, my white brother, the country would collectively flip its lid because the national news outlets would be all over. But this racist behavior, it's okay. It gets a pass. And it's BS, but there's better things we could talk about, like the guy who found this dude. Remember, New York City, in the city, there's about 8 million people. In the market's about 15, 18 million people. So in city limits, in New York, where this happened, like 7 to 8 million people. And you're trying to find, as the news outlets put it, he wasn't a black man. He was a dark-skinned man. who they were trying to find.
Do you ever wonder if you'd be a good eyewitness? Because I'd be terrible. My husband constantly tells me that I'm like the least observant person. If I was ever involved in something and later they had to ask me like what the person looked like, I would be totally out of it. And yeah, they always put those pictures up, but I'm sure people are like, you walk around New York and see 100 people who might look like the one picture that you saw. That's incredible that they found him so quickly.
And I would be afraid too, because I'd be like, well, it was a girl. Can I say that? And she was, I don't know the exact, I don't know if she was black or Hispanic or Middle Eastern or pasty white Wisconsinite. I don't know. I'd be afraid that whatever I say, and you see, and this happens in local news outlets too, whenever we see the officials are looking for some kind of suspect, a lot of times they just do not give the race because it's offensive. Well, we have too many blacks that are featured in the news. Well, it's not about the color of the skin. What's featured in the news are people who are committing crimes. People aren't being featured because of their skin color. People that we are looking for, people that get talked about in the news a lot, it's people that commit crimes.
Who have alleged to have committed crimes.
Thank you. I'm glad our attorney Stephanie Bell is joining us this morning. There's our news director for the entire Zimmer Radio Network, Brian Hauswirth.
It's great to see you, sir.
Great to see you. Hannah, by the way, Brian and I are doing something really interesting today.
Yes.
But I do have some highlights. Jill Biden was in Missouri yesterday, and she said two things that I wholeheartedly agree with. We're doing something really interesting today, and Hannah's laughing because I guess this time, and I've never been into this particular facility. I've been to ones in other parts of Missouri and Idaho, Montana, Utah for a night.
You're just checking this one off the bucket list.
Right. It's like, man, I want to do some one-night stands in jails all across the 50 states of the United States of America. Brian and I are going to tour the Boone County jail today to get an insight. Sheriff Dwayne Carey's been kind enough to allow us some access just to kind of see. So we're looking forward to that today and then bringing you the story. If not tomorrow on a Feel Good Friday, maybe Monday. There is Hannah, the producer.
Good morning.
Hannah was in tears yesterday. Wait till you hear this story. We might do that coming up like 7:50. I was shocked because Hannah's one of the coolest people I know. And it's not because of her.
You don't know very many people there.
I was shocked to hear that Hannah was freaked out by this little thing. To me, a little thing because
it's a little thing.
But to you, it's a big deal. Couple of things. Listen, inflation sucks, and we know it. So we want to try to offer you some hope. 6:35 this morning. Kirk Couchman of Americans for Prosperity is here, and then want to try to get some hope for us locally. Please join us. 8:35. Matt McCormick, Chamber of Commerce, is going to be joining us. How are we looking here in Columbia? We know it's bad. We know it sucks. We know we're paying a lot of money for a lot of things, and what's happening in Ukraine obviously is not helping. It's affecting bread prices, energy prices, financial markets. 30% of the world's wheat and barley come from Ukraine and Russia. It's bad, but what we want to try to do is offer you some hope this morning. Jill Biden, yesterday, Whiteman Air Force Base. And she said two things that I agreed with. Now, as an Air Force brat, and as both of my parents were in the Air Force, we were moving from Rantoul, Illinois, to Tucson, Arizona, to Phoenix, Arizona, to California. 1 year I was in 3 different schools because that's what happens when you're a military kid. You move all the time. 3rd grade, I was in 3 different schools, and it was horrible. But I used that experience to shape who I am now, and it's affected me in maybe negative and positive ways. Negatively, I'm shy in crowds of people. People that I don't know. I don't like being in crowds of people.
Maybe that's, and I'm being serious, maybe that's why you have commitment issues because, no, I'm being serious, because you're so used to, like, being somewhere for not very long. So you don't get, like, attached.
I'd never thought about it.
Really?
That way. That maybe that causes relationship issues because of commitment. Now, I could try using language from local state rep David Tyson Smith when he talked about CRT being, quote, almost exclusively taught in higher education, which is wrong. That's not an accurate statement by the state rep. So after I tried the thing with somebody, we're exclusive, honey. Almost. Try that. Well, I was an Air Force brat. That's why I have commitment issues. I'm going to try that one. Thanks for the ammo, Hannah.
Not where I was going with that.
So I know what it's like, and working with military families in the past, we talk about, as a matter of fact, tomorrow we're going to be wearing red to remember everyone deployed. The people, the family members that stay back home. My mom would get deployed to South Korea all the time, and it was horrible. We talk about their spouses and family members that are left here while somebody in the military is deployed serving our country. Jill Biden took some time. She was addressing students because they're impressionable and they can change their political ideology to the Democrat side. So while she's making this impression on you, she did say two things that I agreed with.
As you serve and represent our nation, you are shaping it every single day. So I want to say thank you to all the military-connected kids who are here. Thank you for serving our country. May God bless our troops and their families.
And I have respect for her saying that. As an Air Force brat, the kids, what the kids go through. We talk about spouses and everybody who stays here at home, but the kids and what they go through and the moving and your parents are gone. The kids, military kids, sacrifice a lot. I absolutely appreciate her for saying that. And then I agree with something else she said. Hannah, Stephanie, somebody slap me. Because because I agree with two. Here's the other thing I agree with what she said yesterday here in Missouri.
I've heard what it's like to work so hard to become captain of your sports team.
She's right. I don't think she knows what she's talking about. Again, this is another prime example of a progressive undoing because they're not smart enough to stay in line with what it is that they try to preach. She's messing up like a lot of the other ones do. They don't to know what it's like to work to become a team captain. And I'm thinking like a female athlete. You work. You're the very best at what you do. You have leadership skills. And now she's not talking about transgender sports, but she is. Imagine a female works hard, displays excellent leadership abilities with her fellow athletes, is the best at her team and can do all this stuff. And then imagine what that's like if for some reason, there's a dude playing and you're not the captain anymore. So unbeknownst to her, she's kind of highlighting exactly what it is that we are trying to say. By the way, in Jefferson City, legislation moving forward that would ban transgenders from playing in chick sports. Some other things happening in Jefferson City this morning. $500 tax credit for Missourians. Have you seen this story? Because
the state's got a lot of money.
They do. And I was surprised. There was somebody, Moody's, it's not Moody's Financial. I can't remember who it is, but somebody who's respected when it comes to financial issues in the state of Missouri. Because immediately I think, well, I'm a conservative. I'm supposed to be against this $500 tax credit / payment to Missourians, $1,000 if you've got a spouse. I'm supposed to be against it, right? Which, on a wholesale level, absolutely am. But there's somebody who is backing it, and I was kind of surprised. Or I don't know if they're backing it as much as they're saying, well, it's not as offensive as we would have thought on the surface. That's one of the things that we are going to be covering this morning here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com, where you can listen live. You can also watch the show by going onto our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, search 93.9 The Eagle, and you can watch the show. You get behind-the-scenes info, some of the things that happen here in the studio that nobody else is privy to. But you get that whenever you watch the show on our Wake Up Columbia Facebook page or on the YouTube channel. By the way, Trump, he was on Hannity last night. Hannity asked Donald Trump, if you're elected president, what would you do?
My question would be just one thing, just one, that you would do differently a second time.
And then a long pause. And then Trump answered, what would I do differently? I'm thinking the answer, nothing. That's what I think the answer would be. What did Mr. DJT actually say to Sean Hannity, who's here today at 2 o'clock on 93.9 The Eagle? What did he say? That's one of the things we're going to feature for you about in a half hour from now. We'll do that for you at 6:50. Meanwhile, get set for the Daily DC Rundown with Stephanie Bell. What's underneath the circus tent this morning?
I should have actually made the bet yesterday of whether or not we could go on airplanes maskless or whether that new terminal
The power of local talk. Wake up Columbia with Branden. 93.9 The Eagle.
The virus is still rampant, even though it's hopefully not killing as many people.
I can't breathe in them, it's just pain.
That's such a simple way not to be ill or spread any germs unknowingly to others.
Because that's what the media tells me, even though the science says the masks are not that effective. Reaction following an announcement from the feds yesterday regarding masks on federal transportation. That is getting us into today's Daily DC Rundown with Stephanie Bell on 93.9 The Eagle.
I was so disappointed when this announcement came over my phone yesterday. So the mask on airplanes order was set to expire on April 18th. If you recall, the last time they extended it, it was a 30-day extension. I am flying the week of April 20th, so I was very excited about the prospect of not wearing a mask. Unfortunately, my dreams were dashed, and but this time the extension is only for 15 days, so until May 3rd. So if you're going somewhere for like the holiday weekend in May, you might be good. But I do think it's a good sign that it was a 30-day extension. Now we're on 15 days. Maybe next time it'll be 7, and eventually we can get this thing away. And honestly, the last time I flew, people weren't really good about wearing the mask. I think people are pretty much over it. But that's disappointing because I think I feel like everyone agrees that the masking should be done, except for on airplanes in the CDC. I don't understand.
And except for the people at Stevens Lake Park, when I see them walking around outside on the trail in their mask, which is fine. But I'm like, the virus is, and people in their cars by themselves, it's like they think the virus is thumping on their car window, trying to bust into their car and get them. But it's okay because I'm protected by this mask, so the virus cannot get me. I am safe here in my car. Unbelievable. I don't understand it.
I don't either. Yesterday, also, Biden is approving an $800 million package of military assistance, including additional helicopters and the first provision of American artillery in Ukraine. It's not quiet, but it's gone on longer, I think, than a lot of people have thought that it was going to. And so they need, they've done really good pushing back so far, but they need more stuff. And so America is stepping up and providing them armored Humvees, naval drone vessels, gear, equipment, other things. So,
and that's your Daily DC Rundown with Stephanie Bell here on 93.9 The Eagle. By the way, we know this economy, and it is largely, a lot of it was happening before Russia. It's Putin's price hike. It's how the White House, the national news outlets, trying to sell it. That is a lie. It is not accurate. Is there some hope in the economy? We're going to be joined by Kurt Couchman, Americans for Prosperity. He's going to be joining us here at 6:35.
Four out of 10 people are scared of the dentist. Willett Dental Associates practices conscious sedation dentistry to relax those fears. Make an appointment now at WillettDentalAssociates.com.
Fox News, I'm Steve Rathert. New York City subway shooting suspect Frank James is expected to be arraigned in federal court today.
A massive manhunt involving hundreds of detectives and police ensued after Tuesday morning's chaos. And in the end, it was actually James himself who helped bring an end to the chase. When 62-year-old Frank James called Crime Stoppers hotline after seeing himself plastered across TV screens and wanted posters.
Fox's Lauren Green. Russia imposing sanctions against nearly 400 members of Congress in response to sanctions on Russian lawmakers for the invasion of Ukraine.
The sanctions mean those members of Congress can't travel in Russia. To that, Democratic Congressman Brendan Boyle of Pennsylvania responded on Twitter, "Well, there goes my spring break plans." And Utah Republican John Curtis said that it was an honor to be included on the list.
Fox's Jill Nato in Washington. America is listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 6:31. We do have some clear skies. It's not often I've been able to look past Branden's head in the morning and see the sun coming up. But that's what we're seeing right now, which is nice to see because we have had a lot of rain in the forecast. Good morning, everyone, and here's some of the stories that we are working on for you in this 6 o'clock hour. We begin with the Missouri House, a Republican-led House, voting 89-40 to allow local elections over whether transgender girls can compete on K-12 girls' sports teams. The vote again, 89-40. The bill is sponsored by State Representative Chuck Basie. Republican supporters say it's unfair for transgender girls to compete against other girls. Democrats say there's not an issue with transgender athletes in Missouri. They say Republicans are pushing the proposal to win Republican primaries in August. No injuries, meantime, reported in Wednesday evening's train vehicle collision in Centertown. It happened west of Jefferson City. Cole County Sheriff John Wheeler tells 93.9 The Eagle that Amtrak train and a vehicle collided. It happened at the Oak Street crossing in Centertown. The village of Centertown has 300 residents. We have a photo of the collision on our website. The pickup truck was basically destroyed. A photo from listener Adam Brown in Centertown. We thank Adam for sending us that photo. Lieutenant Governor wants to be Missouri's next governor. Jefferson City Republican Mike Kehoe emphasizing his business background.
Keeping a business guy in the executive branch that has, run businesses across the state and understands both the ag economy and the urban economy.
And the UM Board of Curators meets today at 1 o'clock. They'll talk about the MU healthcare and get a report from them. Our news time in the 6 o'clock hour is brought to you by the folks at Willett Dental Associates. Make an appointment now, WillettDentalAssociates.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:33. Turning our attention now to sports. The Cardinals and Milwaukee opening up a 4-game series today in Wisconsin. Brewers are tough. Cardinals ace Adam Wainwright getting the call today. Won 17 games last year. First pitch is set for 4:14. 93.9 The Eagle. The Brewers have some talent. Christian Yelich, just one of many. A lot of talent on that team. Adam Wainwright on the mound today, 40 years old, and he will get the call. Again, we'll hear all the action on the Eagle. No scores to report last night involving either team because the Cardinals and Royals were rained out. Royals back in action hopefully today. Weather should be okay for them to get underway tonight. First pitch 7:10 at Kauffman Stadium. The Royals hosting Detroit. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:34. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Find a job, post your job opening today. Roads right now are pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. If you'd like to report a traffic issue, you can give us a call or a text. It is 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes and breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Like I was working inside the store and I catch him. That's good, something from the God. Yeah. That's good, something from the God, and we catch him. Always when I catch these people in America, we don't want any problem here in America because here life is good.
Yeah. That's Zach Dahan. I know people from Syria, and that's apparently where Zach Dahan is from. He lives in New York City. He is the guy, and you hear people cheering for him. He's the guy, apparently, that spotted this Frank George, the subway shooter in New York City. Apparently saw this guy walking into a store because the entire collective city of New York City apparently was looking for this guy. This guy runs a little storefront shop in New York City, and he sees the guy, calls the police, and he says, and I love it, he says, we don't want any problems here in America. And people were cheering for him yesterday. Welcome to the show. Wake Up Columbia. There is Stephanie Pell.
Good morning.
Brian Hauswirth is here.
Good to see him, by the way. Great soundbite there. That was really powerful, especially the crowd. That took a lot of courage because making a call like that, you could fear retribution if from the guy if he escapes or whatever. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
I thought it was cool, and people because I spent one night in New York. I went there for a Broadway play that I slept through.
What a waste.
Yeah. And it was one that I've been wanting to see for years. I have no desire to go see Broadway musicals. It's not my bag. but wanted to see the Book of Mormon, which was put together by the creators of South Park. It was a Broadway musical, won a lot of awards over the years, and so I had friends said, hey, we'll do this. It was right after, a couple of years ago, it was right after one of our CMN radiothons. We wrapped up on a Friday. We flew out Saturday morning, went to New York to go watch this Broadway musical. Fell asleep at the beginning, woke up right in time for the end, and then came back home the next day. Beautiful trip, Rathert. Wow. Don't behave that way anymore. But anyhow, I know in New York City, and I haven't spent a lot of time, but it's like people there, they keep their head down. They're, they don't get involved. Oftentimes they don't. But this guy was getting involved, and I thought that was really cool. There is Hannah, the producer.
Good morning.
My name is Branden Rathert. This is Wake Up Columbia. We're hoping to chat with Kurt Couchman, Americans for Prosperity, talking about inflation numbers, ideally offering us hope. Maybe that's why he's bailed out, because he doesn't feel like he can offer us any hope right now. Can't be that bad.
It is interesting, Branden, that, and by the way, I think the Missouri House website appears to be down, at least on my computer. The Senate website is up because I was checking on Cody Smith bill. I can't pull it up at all. But this bill that you talked about last hour, the $500 credit, is really fascinating. And I'd love to hear this gentleman's take on it. But the biggest thing that I'm a little surprised about is the not so much the policy itself. It's very interesting, and love to hear his perspective. But it's timing, a bill being dropped this late in a session, unless maybe it gets amended onto something else. Is there any chance of getting that through with essentially a month to go? I don't know.
Well, and Branden had suggested it was backed by someone who was kind of surprising, and that was a name that would be familiar to you, Brian Hauswirth. It's Jim Moody, who used to be the budget director. Can you, for folks who are unfamiliar with Jim Moody, what does his backing of a tax credit bill potentially do?
It's a great point. And he is basically your old school, Republicans a lot of times will kind of consider him more of a moderate, but he's kind of an old school Republican. He would have been back in the Ashcroft era. But I think he brings a lot of, if he gets on board, and it sounds like he has, he brings credibility on the Republican side, but the Democrats listen to him as well. And he'd be a great one, by the way, to get on at some point. But it is interesting, and he brings a lot of experience because he could be able to talk about to the lawmakers about the impact it would have on the budget, perhaps long term. It would be a one-time deal, so it wouldn't be something that they deal with every year.
Well, and apparently, he sends out some notes, and they quoted him saying that I guess the GR fund in March of 2022 has a fund balance of almost $3 billion. And while he typically doesn't support things like tax credits, in this instance, because it is a one-time thing, that a $500 tax credit, a one-time $500 tax credit would be a good use of that general, or I guess an okay use. He didn't object to the use of this for a $500 tax credit. And I think, they're still, with prices soaring and everything we've gone through in the last 2 years, I mean, it's our money, right?
Yeah, give it back.
It is. There's no doubt. Representative Sarah Walsh said herself when she was on our show last year, and in kind of similar numbers we heard from a Democrat, Deb Lavender, before even what Jim Moody said, they both believe that we had potentially $8 billion with a B in the bank. Deb Lavender said there's 400 different bank accounts in Jefferson City. So this would be a one-time deal on a tax credit, if you will.
And then there's also offering tax credits, tax incentives for doctors to go into rural areas, which, by the way, this is one of those things, again, because it doesn't affect me, that I started looking into a couple of years ago. Healthcare in rural areas in Missouri is really dicey right now, so now they're being offered tax credits, incentives.
Yeah.
Are we okay with that?
That is a big bill. That has some bipartisan support. Herman Morse is the bill sponsor, Branden. That all stems, it's one county, but you could apply this to almost any county in North Missouri where I worked. He's down in Stoddard County in the 1970s in Dexter, Missouri, very rural county, south of Cape Girardeau. There were 20 doctors who actually lived and worked in that county, 20 that lived and worked there, school board members, etc. Today, there's one. He's right on the verge of retirement, and this gentleman, this representative, says this is going on all over the state. It's a pretty small tax credit, and the aim is to get them to live in these communities, so they'd be able, people have the ability to go to the doctor, because a lot of the hospitals have closed. So that has some support from the Democratic side as well. Again, I just don't know what the timing, if they'd be able to get that through, but they're certainly trying.
Would you be okay with having raised 3 young kids and in the process of, would you be okay, would your conservatism be okay with tax breaks for diapers? See? Right? As a parent and as, we're compassionate people, but it would be tax breaks for diapers.
So I am like very budget conscious, and, diapers are very expensive. And so I had student loans. I was trying to pay them back, that kind of thing. So all 3 of my children were cloth diapered. And I'm serious. I bought cloth diapers. We washed them, in a regular schedule. People thought we were crazy, but we saved a lot of money. If and cloth diapers are different for those folks who remember the cloth diapers of 50 years ago. There's actually a really great company that's Missouri-based that makes kind of modern cloth diapers, and they're cute and fun. But
modern?
Are they bejeweled?
They're fun
Bejeweled
colors,
diapers.
and they kind of have a pocket. They make it just easier for
Pocket
people.
for the kid, for the infant cell phone.
But we spent a lot of time washing, drying, stuffing cloth diapers, and because we knew that it would afford us the ability to pay down debt and do some other things, and we made a lot of sacrifices early on, and that's one of them. In fact, I have all of my cloth diapers. If you know someone out there who needs some cloth diapers, I would happily donate them to somebody because I am no longer using them.
How much more did your water and energy costs go up from having to do all that laundry?
I don't think very much. Very much.
I had this conversation with my mom years ago about, well, Mom, just get cloth diapers for the grandkids. It's cheaper. Well, no, it's actually not, because then you're spending more on water and detergent, and plus my time is worth it.
I'm saving the environment, Branden.
I know, right?
Which I'm really concerned about. Not really.
What about tax incentives for like the Kansas City Chiefs to stay in Missouri? There's a possibility they're looking to move across the line into Kansas.
Do you think that's real?
No.
I don't know. When I first saw the story 4 weeks ago, I thought, nah. And then I saw it again 3 weeks ago, nah. 2 weeks ago, nah. But they're still talking about it. As a matter of fact, our Governor Mike Parson has even weighed in to talk about it. Tax incentives okay? Because we look at, and listen, the people will say tax incentives don't work, and they'll show you the studies that try to prove their point as to why they don't work, and then you'll have a bunch of people say, well, here they do work, and they'll try to prove to you why they do work. And I think a lot of folks here locally point to the breaks that IBM got. I think it was IBM, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago that pretty much it faltered. They couldn't live up. They couldn't stay up to their expectations. So we're not okay with tax breaks for these big corporations coming in?
No, I think I am. I think there are people out there that are smarter than me, economic development professionals that conduct studies, on how much, what the economics are and how much incentives versus how much the business is going to bring in over what, there are professionals who do this and tell us the right answer, I think, or something close to the right answer. I think there are situations, lots of them, for economic development purposes where it makes sense to lure people to your state because they're competing with other states. And a lot of times, states get in competitions for these folks, and you do have to you have to say, here's what, if you come to Missouri, this is what we're willing to do. And you do that based on information from the experts about what you think they're going to bring to your state.
And you hope that they can live up to them, because that has not always happened, especially here in Columbia. I'm generally in favor of them. Listen, if it's give and take. Well, and I'll say it with this caveat. Let's do more for these small local businesses when it comes to tax breaks, not just focusing on these folks that hire several hundred folks, whether it be, for milk or Kawasaki or whatever. Let's do something more to help these small local businesses.
How did you get from milk to Kawasaki?
The dairy here in Columbia and Kawasaki's, what they're doing in Boonville. This guy, we're trying to fact check a story regarding this guy again.
Got my mind that there's less than 1,000. Got my mind that there's less than 1,000.
Joe Biden. Did we ever, last time there was a big fact check on him, there was talk that he was at some high level hearing and you could hear him apparently break wind and there was a microphone there.
Fart?
And then there was a fact check. We were fact checking whether or not Joe Biden actually crapped his pants. That was a real fact check, by the way.
Oh, yeah, because he was seen in like a different outfit right after that, right?
Yes.
And so some of these news outlets were doing did Joe Biden crap his pants? So you may have seen this video the other day, which is it's hilarious. Not just watching it. The comedic value isn't there. The comedic value is the symbolism and what happened. He's doing a speech in Iowa, and Iowa loves Joe Biden, Rathert said facetiously. Not a big fan of Joe Biden in Iowa. And he's talking, and something drops on his jacket. And, of course, everybody ran with it. Looks like a bird crapped on his jacket. So now, here's how hard it is right now for these news outlets to defend, because there is nothing that anybody with any amount of intelligence, there is very little as Biden voters. There's very little that they can honestly defend and feel good about themselves and sleep at night. They just can't do it. But they can defend themselves on whether or not a bird crapped on Joe Biden's jacket and the symbolism. This is America crapping on Joe Biden. Really, the whole thing is beautiful.
I hate to burst your bubble, but isn't it supposed to be good luck if you get pooped on by a bird?
It is.
I had never heard that.
Really?
No.
Oh, it's happened to me. I think it's happened to me twice.
So now there's fact checks. Was it a bird? Now, so USA Today and some of these other news agencies, they're putting resources forward to say, well, so we've researched this story, and it wasn't a bird. It was some distillery leftover stuff or something. That's how desperate they are.
They're going to accuse a Republican of driving a drone over the president just to make it pretend to poop on him.
And as, you know, with their liberal bent, they'd usually be out there, you know, touting all of the good things that the Biden administration had done. You know, they'd be, right before the midterms, they'd be ticking off all of the victories and the campaign promises he's accomplished, and he has nothing. And so they're like, you know what? I guess we're going to talk about bird poop today.
That is the President of the United States of America. If you are a regretful Biden voter and you are new to Wake Up Columbia, we do want to welcome you. We don't want to match wits and try to prove we're right and you're wrong. We just want to say welcome. Coming up here at 6:53 on 93.9. By the way, we are going to be chatting with Matt McCormick, Chamber of Commerce. What's happening locally with our economy, inflation, and can he offer some hope? Sean Hannity talking to former President Mr. Trump yesterday on a show.
My question would be just one thing, just one, that you would do differently a second time.
And there was a long pause there by Trump, by the way. He didn't answer that immediately. He put some thought into it. How did he answer the question? We're going to feature that coming up for you at 6:54, I promise. Here on 93.9 The Eagle. This for you. Check this out. And you'll find this. You can see this, by the way, as we're talking about it. This is tranquility. It's peace. It's property conveniently located between Columbia and Jefferson City, right off of Highway 63. You can go on to AtterburySells.com and check this out. South Columbia, beautiful log home situated on 60 gorgeous acres. And you look at the pictures. By the way, you can go and see this because actually there's going to be an open house coming up on Tuesday. You can go and check it out, and then you can go online. Online bidding. That's one of the things they're doing differently now. It's kind of how they're changing the game at Atterbury Auction and Realty Company. Then online bidding ends Tuesday, April 26th. They've really cleaned it up. It's a very smooth process, so you can lay your bid down on these, 60-plus acres. Log cabin, cozy sunroom, picturesque views, your own little escape. You can see it. You can learn more by going to Atterbury Auction and Realty Company's website, AtterburySells.com.
Local opinion? We've got your back. Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle.
My question would be just one thing, just one, that you would do differently a second time.
Sean Hannity last night on his TV show. I'm hoping he'll cover this on 93.9 The Eagle today when he's here at 2 o'clock. But Sean Hannity talking to Donald Trump. What would you do differently if you are reelected, if you run for president in 2024? So I'm thinking the answer is going to be, knowing Trump, nothing. I would do nothing differently. But and Trump, by the way, he paused almost 3 seconds before he answered the question.
That's rare for him.
That's rare, and here was his answer.
I think one of the things that I would do differently is, I found the media is so corrupt that I would really not focus on them almost at all. I just focus on getting the job done for the American people. You cater to the media, you deal with the media. They're very dishonest. They write opposite things. They have sources that aren't sources.
He's saying, listen, here's what I would do differently. And I don't know. I don't think he really catered to the media that much.
He was obsessed with them, though. He was completely obsessed with them. Can you imagine a Donald Trump presidency where he's not obsessed with the media? I can't.
Can't imagine. But would it be a good thing? Is he scaling back a little bit? I don't know. But I think that's what, we want. We want the Trumpism. Call it whatever you want, and it's not a derogatory thing when you come to the political beliefs of Donald Trump. The people upset about the angry tweets and the things he said. I get it. That doesn't bother me when it comes to, hey, what bothers you? Using the F word on Twitter or paying $4 a gallon for gasoline? You tell me which bothers you more. And we can ask these people, these regretful Biden voters, we can ask these people these questions. Say, hey, which bothers you more? Foul language on Twitter?
Sounds like a good poll. Maybe we need to put that up on social media.
Mitch McConnell. Yesterday, we're looking at some national politics for you this morning. Mitch McConnell spent about an hour doing kind of a Kentucky chamber thing, sit down in the chamber, and about an hour. And wide-ranging conversation on a variety of topics. He was asked this question.
Let's talk about the midterm elections. Seems like the environment is pretty good for your party. The generic ballot favors the Republicans, which is an almost unheard of condition in the national polling, highly unusual. First to you, your prediction on the Senate.
So, a spoiler alert, he has a favorable prediction for us, for conservatives, Republicans taking over the Senate in 2022. He brought up Missouri politics.
Ooh.
What did he say? We're going to do that for you coming up at 7:10 here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com, where you can listen live.
He went by Prophet of Truth 88. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. The suspect in Tuesday's subway shooting in New York had a personal YouTube channel now taken down, posting videos predicting a racial civil war, claiming that white people see black people's rightful places as slave. Frank James is black, also claiming he wanted to see people die but didn't want to go to prison. He's locked up now after a 29-hour manhunt in New York. Fox's Tanya J. Powers.
Chris, Frank James is due before a judge today in Brooklyn to answer to federal terrorism charges 2 days after police say he opened fire on that subway train, shooting 10 people and hurting at least a dozen more. James was taken into custody on Wednesday after police say he tipped them off to his location. While no motive has been revealed, police have given more information about James's background. He had 12 prior arrests in New York and New Jersey from 1990 to 2007, including for possession of burglary tools, a criminal sex act, and trespassing. There were no felony convictions, and he was not banned from buying or owning a firearm. Chris.
Tanya, Elon Musk is offering to buy Twitter outright. Here's Fox's Janika Sola.
Chris, Twitter shares are rallying up more than 6% after Tesla CEO Elon Musk offered to buy Twitter and take it private in a deal worth more than $40 billion. Musk says it's his best and final offer, and if it's not accepted, he'll reconsider his position as a shareholder. Tesla shares are losing ground. Chris.
Janika Sola in New York. Thanks. Former President Trump agrees with President Biden, calling the killing of Ukrainian civilians genocide. He says if he was still president, Russia's President Vladimir Putin would not have invaded.
He did want Ukraine, but I said, you're not going into Ukraine. He would never, ever have gone into Ukraine.
Trump there with Fox's Sean Hannity. Firefighters in New Mexico are trying to slow down flames that have burned at least 150 buildings, including homes, forcing evacuations in the town of Ruidosa. New Mexico State Police in a statement says 2 people have been found dead in a home. America's listening to Fox News.
Economists are warning that sanctions against Russia could cause unintended damage in America, triggering devastating inflation. As gas prices skyrocket, prices for everything could surge even higher, making the current 40-year record inflation look mild. Hi, this is Stephen K. Bannon, and I urge you to take immediate action to protect your savings by opening a physical gold IRA with my friends at Birch Gold. I'm a Birch Gold customer myself, and they have my highest recommendation. Just text the word PROTECT to 989898, and they'll send you a free info kit on how to get started. In my opinion, gold IRAs are one of the best ways to protect your savings no matter what happens in America or around the world. And the best company to work with is Birch Gold. So text the word PROTECT to 989898 to get everything you need to know about protecting your savings with gold.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 7:03, 36, partly cloudy skies in Jefferson City. It's partly sunny here in Columbia, and we're expecting a high today of around 62. We're going to get some dry time today, which we badly need, and the storms have all moved off now to our east. Good morning, everyone. Here's some of the stories we are working on for you in this 7 o'clock hour. Healthcare will be the main theme of today's Board of Curators meeting in Columbia. MU Health Chief Executive Officer Jonathan Curtright will be briefing the board this afternoon. MU Health is building a $232 million children's hospital. They've also made investments in towns like Boonville and Ashland. Today's meeting will take place at the $220 million Next Gen Precision Health Building. System President Dr. Moon Choi predicts it will reduce the cost of health care. President Choi tells 93.9 The Eagle clinicians and researchers are working side by side in the Next Gen facility. A collision between an Amtrak train and a pickup truck in mid-Missouri Centertown causing traffic issues but no injuries. Cole County Sheriff John Wheeler is thankful there were no injuries in the collision Wednesday evening. It happened at the Oak Street crossing in Centertown. We have a photo of the scene on our website. It's 939theeagle.com. Thanks to Adam Brown, one of our listeners in Centralia, or actually in Centertown, I should say, for sending that. Missouri's lieutenant governor is supporting a bill. It's aimed at stopping the Grain Belt Express line in North Missouri. Grainbelt plans to build a high-voltage transmission line across 8 counties, including Randolph and Sheraton. Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe tells Wake Up Columbia he supports Senator Jason Bean's bill. It's aimed at blocking the project.
I can tell you that Senator Rowden has told me and many other people we will get to that bill. And so I think there's a path forward, but as you know, there's the Senate's been a little complex this year, and I know we'll get a chance to have some floor time on that bill.
Invenergy and Grainbelt supporters have a different perspective. They say it would be Missouri's largest energy infrastructure project that would deliver millions of dollars in annual energy savings for 39 Missouri towns. Missouri Farm Bureau and the other commodity groups, including the Cattlemen's Association here in Columbia, say it would be eminent domain, and the cattlemen groups and the ag organizations oppose the Grainbelt project. Thousands of people will be traveling to Columbia for the 2025 NCAA Division I men's and women's cross-country championships. Again, 2025, the event will take place at Gans Creek, which is located in South Columbia, just off Highway 63. You'll recall Gans Creek hosted the 2021 NCAA SEC championship. Columbia's Mayor Brian Treese tells 93.9 The Eagle that Gans Creek is a premier course.
But more than that, we have thousands of high school athletes that come here every year to run on that course. And, you know, it's one of those clean economy things that creates jobs and hotel room nights.
Gans Creek is the home course for the University of Missouri. That facility also has multi-purpose sports fields, and they also have a concession area. In bipartisan legislation is one step closer to passage in Jefferson City. It involves historically black colleges, and the sponsor of that bill will be testifying today in Jefferson City on the bill.
Kansas City State Senator Barbara Washington sponsors the bipartisan bill, which will be heard this morning by the House Higher Education Committee. Senator Washington's bill recognizes the importance of Jefferson City's Lincoln University and St. Louis's Harris Stowe State University, the two historically black colleges and universities in Missouri. Don Luzader, 93.9 The Eagle.
All right, Don, thanks so much. And our news brought to you this hour by The Candy Factory. They're in downtown Columbia. Find them online, thecandyfactoryonline.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:07. In sports, Cardinals in Milwaukee opening up a 4-game series today in Wisconsin. Cardinals ace Adam Wainwright on the mound for St. Louis. He won 17 games last year. First pitch is set for 4:14 on 93.9 The Eagle. Weather should cooperate. The Cardinals and the Royals, by the way, rained out yesterday, so no scores involving either team this morning. Speaking of the Royals, they're at home tonight in Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. First pitch 7:10. Their opponent tonight is Detroit. Our sports is brought to you this hour by Service Master Clean of Columbia. Adam Kinzer, ServiceMasterofColumbia.com, 573-443-8383. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:07. All right, Nate, thank you and good work this morning filling in for John Ross at the TV station with Molly and here for us as well. Our weather is brought to you by Willett Dental Associates. WillettDentalAssociates.com. 36 degrees. And our traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to find a job or to post your job opening today. Roads right now are pretty quiet here at 7:08. Again, a reminder, there will be work continuing. Had to be delayed a couple of days because of all the rain and wet conditions. But MoDOT and the contractors will try to get back out today and still work on that project, $15 million project between Columbia and Jefferson City. They should be out on the scene by about 8:30 this morning. If you want to report a traffic issue, you can give us a call or a text, 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. We have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
I think there's this whole idea, the White House is just losing the messaging war, But if you ask Americans, why do you think the economy is bad? It's inflation. The voters know exactly what's going on. They're not stupid. 86% say inflation. Only 17% say unemployment if they believe the economy is in bad shape.
And that's a daily jobs report that voters, that Americans, consumers see every day, and there's nothing the White House can do about it other than bring down the price of gasoline, which is tough.
And maybe blame Putin. And this week the tagline was the Putin price hikes or something to that effect.
Look. Good morning. Man, it's kind of a dark start. Doom and gloom. Kurt Couchman joining us on Wake Up Columbia here on 93.9. The Eagle, economist, budget expert. He is with Americans for Prosperity. Kurt, I want to start with the reality of what's going on. Without offering it now, I do want to ask, because before you and I get done chatting, I want to know, are you going to be able to offer us a little bit of hope?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Thanks for having me on your program.
I'm glad you could be here. I got to do this first because I'm working to improve a lot of times, Kurt, and I don't mean to interrupt your all the eyeballs here in the studio start to roll.
Because I know exactly where this is headed.
So here's the thing, Kurt, and you might actually enjoy this. Mitch McConnell, Senator McConnell, doing an hour-long sit-down with the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce, talking about the midterms, which seems to I think there's a wide acceptance. Republicans should do incredibly well coming up in the midterms, overtaking the House and the Senate. Mitch McConnell was asked about midterms, and he says, yeah, I'm feeling really good about it. And then in that discussion, he brought up an old story from Missouri politics.
So you can't nominate somebody who's just sort of unacceptable to a broader group of people and win. And we had that experience in 2010 and 2012 by nominating Todd Aiken in Missouri. Just kind of bizarre people that got through the primary who couldn't win in November. So
now, is he really talking about Todd? Who do you think he's really trying to call out here?
Oh, I know.
Hauswirth, do you know?
Obviously, he's because former Governor Greitens has criticized McConnell by name as well. But yeah, it's obvious he's referring to the former governor.
Hey, Kurt, let me ask you this. I know you're on the East Coast, not from Missouri. Is our Senate race the race that Senator Blunt is leaving? Because I'm seeing it gets national traction, especially as it relates to Eric Greitens. Before we talk about the economy, I'll just ask you your take on the Missouri Senate race.
Well, we have made an endorsement in the Missouri Senate race, and that's for Eric Schmidt. He seems like the candidate who would be most likely to advance fiscal responsibility, cutting red tape, promoting government accountability, and being able to work with both sides to get it done.
All right. Let's talk, by the way, this is our guest, Kurt Couchman, Americans for Prosperity. The inflation numbers, but we know it sucks. That's the thing. I'm paying more for this, for that. I'm having to change vacation plans. I'm having to make some adjustments. Now I care about it, Stephanie, because now it's affecting me. See, before it wasn't I didn't care that much, but now it's affecting me, and I kid, but this is affecting a lot of our friends, family all across the country here in mid-Missouri. Talk about the reality, really, nonpartisan stuff, the reality of inflation, the economy. What's going on?
Inflation is what happens when Congress spends too much and borrows too much, and when the Federal Reserve prints a bunch of money to cover that debt. I mean, that's just what happens. And over the last 20 years, really, there's been a bipartisan failure to control the debt. During the COVID pandemic, it really took off. The debt grew significantly, about 30 percentage points as a percentage of GDP. And a good chunk of that came right after Democrats took unified control of Congress with the American Rescue Plan Act. That alone was almost $2 trillion in new debt that went out. Almost all of it went out immediately, or pretty close to that. And that's about the time when the Fed kind of lost control of the situation. They have some special tools. Some that they've had for a long time, some that they originated during or started using for the first time during the 2008 financial crisis. And they were able to keep inflation in check for a while. But at some point, the borrowing is just too much and the spending is too much, and it kind of overwhelms the system.
And it's bad because we're paying more for just about everything. I want to ask you this.
Inflation.
Yeah, and here's the thing. We heard the reference to Putin's price hike, the gas prices. That's not Joe's fault. Inflation. By the way, gas prices had been going up since January 20th of 2021. But I say all of this, and this is not about partisan politics. In my mind, it's facts. And I'm not an economist. I'm not a budget expert like you are. I'm a working Joe Schmo, blue-collar kind of guy in the heart of America, in the heart of Missouri. This is all absolutely the current president's fault because of how we look on the worldwide stage. Russia saw their opportunity to go in. NATO acknowledged as much 2 weeks ago. It's because of what happened in Afghanistan that Joe was also responsible for. Saw how weak we look there, according to NATO. Russia decided now's a good time to invade Ukraine. So all of this stuff, I honestly believe in its very simplest terms, this is not just about blaming the president. We're blaming the president because absolutely it falls at his feet. Am I wrong in my blue-collar assessment of what's happening?
On the Russia-Ukraine situation,
everything. This is all Joe's.
I'm not the guy for that.
Well, but it's all Joe's fault.
Well, in terms of the contribution of what's happening in Ukraine to inflation, that made absolutely no impact until the last report, maybe, and then even there, it was probably a relatively small part of that. So it's mostly domestic economic policies that are driving inflation. The Ukraine situation may have had some effect in the last month, but that's about it.
Domestic economic policies under our current president. I do, by the way, before we let you go, I don't want to be all negative. I do want to get some hope from Kurt Couchman because he knows what he's talking about. Economist and budget expert with Americans for Prosperity.
I did want to get your take on this bill that's pending in our state house. So, as you know, a lot of states are flush with cash right now. We've got a GR balance of almost $3 billion, and there's a bill pending to kind of give every Missourian a $500 tax credit. What are your thoughts on states just giving the money back to taxpayers?
At some point, you're looking at least bad options, and so I don't know if I want to weigh in specifically on that and what the other uses might be. But the important thing is that Congress has spent way too much. It has a budget system that doesn't work, and to put it back under control, you need to have a real budget. Like, Congress doesn't do a budget. Congress does appropriations. Those are only 30% of spending. You need to have all the spending and all the revenue in one bill so you can manage it all effectively. And by the way, Missouri also doesn't have a single real budget. You have 17 bills that make up your annual process, and that doesn't include everything either. So that's one thing. The other thing is, states all have balance requirements pretty much. Federal government does not, nothing binding. We need a balanced budget amendment, but one that balances over the business cycle, not every year. And along with that, or instead of that, at least for the time being, we could do something via statute, kind of like the Budget Control Act caps, but something that was actually better written than that and could actually work.
So before we let you go, is there hope? Because we all know the economy sucks. As a matter of fact, since we've had you on, we're going to have the Matt McCormick with the Columbia Chamber of Commerce. He is here at 8:35 this morning because we want to kind of localize this more. How are we doing here in mid-Missouri? Do we have any hope? And I don't want it to be all doom and gloom, but Kurt, can you offer us some kind of hope this morning? Somebody listening going, okay, when I go into work this morning, and I was telling my friends I was listening to Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle, they did have something positive to say. Can you give us something positive?
Yeah, I mean, these budget reforms that we were talking about just now, those are being developed. Some of them have been introduced already, and they're kind of on the shelf and ready to go for when the window of opportunity opens. The other thing is we have a network of state chapters at Americans for Prosperity. We have a great one in Missouri, a great team there led by Jeremy Cady. If he hasn't been on your program, he'd be a great guest sometime. And they're working on both state and federal reforms. So, good things that are happening in the State House. No doubt they are involved with as well.
And then on a national level, some hope for us?
Yeah, there's increasing interest in fixing our budget system. That's what it all comes back to with inflation. And also pushing back on some of the regulations and red tape that are making it harder for for businesses to produce things and provide the supply that people need for all the goods and services that we use in our lives.
Americans for Prosperity's Kurt Couchman. Anything else you would like to add before we let you go?
Well, I think that the windows of opportunity are going to open in a pretty big way next Congress, so it's important to make sure that we're prepared to take advantage of that.
Amen. Kurt, thank you, and we do appreciate that, because I know so much of this stuff can be so negative, and it's real. When Stephanie's paying, X amount of dollars for gasoline, and Hannah's having, and we're all, it's hurting all of us, and so we want the truth, which you have given us, and a little bit of hope. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we appreciate you. Meanwhile, Joe's wife, Jill, was in Missouri yesterday. She said something that I agree with.
Really?
I don't think she was. I think I'm taking it out of context.
I can't imagine you doing that, Branden.
But I agree with what Jill is. She was at Whiteman Air Force yesterday. She's been mostly addressing high school students because, they're young and impressionable and not registered to vote yet. Oh, the First Lady was here. We should register to vote and vote for this dude again. One of the things she said yesterday that I do agree with now, she's addressing, and she did want to be reasonable here. She did say some really good things about kids that have parents that are in the military. As an Air Force brat, both my parents were in the Air Force. We moved around every time, all the way, and it was not fun as a kid. I'm shy and bashful in crowds. It affected me as a little kid. But I think because of that, I didn't let that define me. Here's the thing, this Americanism, this exceptionalism, this individual aspect that we talk about, I took that and I made that one of my strengths. So I'm shy and bashful around a bunch of people I don't know. But I can easily make friends. Because I was forced to, because I was a military brat, I had to, man. Like every few months, we had to pull up stakes, and I had to go get me a new best friend, get me a new girlfriend in the 3rd grade. I had to do all that stuff.
I mean, they pay me to pretend to be your friend here.
Ouch. That was great.
I'm going to try to get my tail from out between my legs. I'm going to pick up my pride. And then I'm going to highlight one of the things that Jill Biden said yesterday that I actually agree with out of context. And we're going to do What's Hot with Hannah. What do you have for us this morning?
I don't know if I can follow up that sick burn. We're talking about irrational fears. And people are weighing in on the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page.
Speaking of
93.9 The Eagle presents Wake Up Columbia with this dude over here.
I don't know what the hell I'm doing up in here.
Whatever. 93.9 The Eagle.
As you serve and represent our nation, you are shaping it every single day. So I want to say thank you to all the military-connected kids who are here. Thank you for serving our country. May God bless our troops and their families.
Jill Biden yesterday, Whiteman Air Force Base here in the Show Me State, and I agree with that as an Air Force brat. I appreciate that she did acknowledge what it's like for kids and spouses. When you have somebody who is serving somewhere, it's tough road to hoe back home here for the family. She said something else that I don't think she didn't mean it the way that I'm going to portray it here. But I also agree with it.
I've heard what it's like to work so hard to become captain of your sports team.
So she's talking about kids, what it's like to become captain of your sports team, and then you can't do it. And I would say, yeah, you're right. You know, especially if you're a female athlete right now, got to be watching over your shoulder. Make sure a guy doesn't take your place. Guy playing sports. You've worked hard. You're the best at what you do. You get the respect of your teammates. You have the ability to lead your teammates. And you become captain. And then a dude comes along. He wants to play chick sports. So I agree with her. That is frustrating. Those words from Jill Biden. Out of context. 728. No, actually 725-ish, which
Speaking
means
of frustrating.
It's 720. By the way, points for Stephanie. Dwayne weighing in 874-9390.
That was a sick burn.
I said something about when I was a kid, Air Force, couldn't make friends and stuff like that. And Stephanie said...
I said that they pay me to pretend to be your friend.
Dwayne is awarding Stephanie some points. We'll dole those out tomorrow. Winners and losers of the week. 8:35 tomorrow on a Feel Good Friday.
So I had an experience yesterday involving an irrational fear, and after you made fun of me for it this morning, I thought maybe we should pose the question to the Wake Up Columbia family and see what their irrational fears are. And I think Scott wins. He said his irrational fear was looking at his 401k in the last year.
Right. I did that yesterday. Ugh.
Yeah, don't look.
One of the most popular answers, and Brandon, you're not going to like this, is people saying that they're afraid of snakes.
Yeah. Now, I will say this. I'm not afraid of spiders or bugs, and I love snakes. Yeah, I kid you not, yesterday, a spider in my bathroom. And I don't like to kill spiders because they eat the bugs. But this spider, I swear to God, man, it's never happened. It was like coming after me, and I'm dancing around in the bathroom while this...
The only time I've heard Mr. Bell scream like a little girl was over a spider.
Oh, exposed. Stephanie's spicy today.
Hey, coming up here on 93.9 The Eagle, the progress of school resource officers in the Columbia Public School District.
Four out of 10 people are scared of the dentist. Willett Dental Associates practices conscious sedation dentistry to relax those fears. WillettDentalAssociates.com.
Fox News, I'm Steve Rappaport. Shares of Twitter jumping ahead of the bell after Tesla CEO Elon Musk offered to buy the social media platform for roughly $43 billion. Fox Business Network's Jackie DeAngelis.
What's interesting is here that he's proposing to take the company private. We've seen this work with a lot of companies, but it's a risky move. A lot of people don't like to move and shake with that change because it could be very scary.
The proposal coming days after Musk said he would no longer be joining Twitter's board of directors. Pfizer says it has data showing a COVID-19 booster shot could benefit healthy children from ages 5 through 11.
Pfizer cites a small study that says 140 5 to 11-year-olds who'd already gotten 2 shots were given a booster 6 months later and found that it bolstered their immune response. Pfizer also says 30 of those kids had a 36-fold increase in virus-fighting levels. The study has not been independently vetted or published.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. America is listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 7:31. We do have partly sunny skies. We're going to get some dry time here in Columbia and Jefferson City, which we badly need. 37 right now in Columbia. It's 35 degrees in Jefferson City. Good morning, everyone. Here's some of the stories we are working on for you in the 7 o'clock hour. No injuries reported in Wednesday evening's train vehicle collision in Centertown, west of Jefferson City. Cole County Sheriff John Wheeler tells 93.9 The Eagle the Amtrak train and vehicle collided. Happened at the Oak Street crossing in Centertown, a town of about 300. Again, no injuries to report. Columbia's mayor has high praise for the Gans Creek Cross Country Course, which hosted the NCAA's 2021 SEC Championship. Gans Creek is located near the Discovery Parkway exit on Highway 63.
And of course, the architects for it, travel the country looking at what are the attributes of other, college level and professional level courses that we wanted to emulate here.
Gans Creek and Columbia will also host the 2025 NCAA Division I Men's and Women's Cross Country National Championship. The Missouri House voting 89-40 to allow local elections over whether transgender girls can compete on a K-12 girls sports team. That, according to the Associated Press, Republican supporters say it's unfair for transgender girls to compete against other girls. Democrats say that Republicans are pushing the proposal to win GOP primaries in August. The UM Board of Curators will hear a report today from MU Healthcare's Chief Executive Officer Jonathan Curtright. Will present a report to the board at today's meeting. Will start at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Our news is brought to you this hour by Willett Dental Associates. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is 7:33. Turning our attention now to sports. Cardinals and the Royals were rained out yesterday in St. Louis due to all the torrential downpours that we have. We didn't have any major severe weather in terms of tornadoes, but very heavy rain. That game canceled very early, about 9 o'clock in the morning, and they'll try to make it up on May the 2nd. Cardinals on the road in Milwaukee. They'll take on the Brewers in a 4-game series starting today. 4:14 is the first pitch. You'll hear it live right here on 93.9 The Eagle. Pregame coverage today, Kevin Wheeler and company from KMOX. As for the Royals, they also were idle yesterday because the Cardinal game against them rained out. Detroit is at KC tonight. First pitch is at 7:10. Our sports is brought to you in the 7 o'clock hour by Witt Print Shop, where your printed products are so much more than ink and paper. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:34. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Find a job. Post your job opening today. Roads right now are pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. If you do have a traffic issue that we need to know about, you can give us a call or a text, 573-874-9390. We did get an update. We told you yesterday live in the 6 and 6:30 newscast there was a high-speed pursuit. Actually went right by the radio station outside on Highway 63 in the rain. That was a carjacking suspect. Apparently 2 vehicles involved. One of them tried to run a highway patrolman off the highway. But that is what that chase was all about. It originated in Jefferson City and came all the way up here to Columbia. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
This college, this museum, stands as a permanent reminder of what we can achieve when we stick together. And we are close allies when it comes to defending freedom and democracy, not just in our own countries, but around the world.
James Cleverly, earlier this week, he was speaking at the Churchill Museum in Fulton. He's I don't know the exact title, but he's an important, high-ranking politician. Appointed Minister of State in the Foreign, Commonwealth, and Development Office. in UK, but he was here in Missouri talking about what's going on in Ukraine.
And he also addressed the Missouri House very briefly as well. We didn't get a lot of in fact, we didn't get any notice on that, so I was unaware of it until he had almost finished speaking, and we had breaking news anyway on something else. But it is good to see about Westminster bringing in these major, I mean, he's obviously high up in the government in Britain, bringing in folks, because for a while they had to stop doing that because of COVID. So that's the first time that I can remember, probably, Branden, in the last one I remember really covering of that magnitude would have been Madeleine Albright, and that was late 2019. So because they've had almost everything they've been doing out there remote, so that was a big deal just for that alone.
This is interesting and kind of off the beaten path as it relates to one of the world's biggest stories right now, Russian invasion of Ukraine. This is retaliatory action for something the United States did. The United States sanctioned, I don't know, like 300 plus members of Russia's state parliament. So Russia, well, look at you. The Russian Foreign Ministry announced sanctions against 398 members of the House of Representatives. And it's meaningless. It's just window dressing. But they're not allowed to go into Russia is one thing. So I have stuff in common with people like Steny Hoyer and Sheila Lee Jackson. They're not allowed to go to Russia. I've been sanctioned by a foreign country, too.
It's pretty rare to have Cori Bush, Billy Long, Jason Smith, every one of Missouri's congressional delegation, because they don't usually agree. But Russia sanctioned all of them. All the Missouri delegation.
Yep, sanctioned all of them. As a matter of fact, it's easier for news outlets to report who in the House did not get sanctioned. So some of these, I've been sanctioned by Canada. I still have that letter framed at my house. So whenever I have house guests once every 2 or 3 years, they come in and they see this letter from Canada, foreign national who's not allowed entry into Canada.
It's for such a stupid reason, too.
It's like us making France mad. Like, how do you anger Canada? I mean, you had to work pretty hard, I assume.
They were mad because of something. Here's why Canada is so liberal. It's like we see when people react to things. So-and-so said this 12 years ago on Twitter. He's not qualified for the job. That's how Canada did me. They were mad at me for something. Let's see, this happened in 2008. So they were mad at me for something I did 20 years ago. And
Shame on them.
They wouldn't let me in because somebody stole some fishing poles.
Somebody.
I don't even fish. I was Belle Reeve Park, I think is what it is. St. Louis County sits on the Mississippi River. I was 17 years old at the time, gallon of homemade wine with a little handle on the side of the jug, walking up the hill with some fishing poles over my shoulder. I was real easy to spot. It was easier to spot me than it was Frank George in New York City. Like, be on the lookout for a guy with a jug of wine and a couple of fishing poles slung over his shoulders.
What was the game plan?
There was not one. Just to go and drink. I was young. Don't behave that way anymore. By the way, if you or somebody we joke about this stuff, but it was serious stuff. If you know somebody and they have issues with drinking and they want to quit, you can call us here on the studio line. Hannah will get your info. I'll talk to you later. And I'm not selling any. It's nothing like that. I'm just willing to share my personal experience if you ever need help with anything like that. Did I see Stephanie Bell frothing at the mouth this morning? She crushes on Elon Musk. Big news regarding, and this is important. It's not just because it's some multi-billionaire getting involved with Twitter. He's now taking it potentially to the next level.
Apparently, he made an offer to buy the whole thing.
And why this is a big deal? Because we get frustrated that Twitter and other social medias they block what they deem to be false information, or it's not within the community standards. And their community standards is don't say anything that triggers us. Don't say anything that we disagree with. That's their community standards. So this is even if you're not on Twitter, if you're not into Twitter, Elon Musk offering to buy it after this drama that's been going on for the past couple of weeks. This is kind of important because it's somebody getting involved. It's not the largest social media platform in the world. That's Facebook. But it's saying, listen, we can do something different. And by the way, Twitter absolutely does have a right to block you. They're not a government entity. It's not a violation of freedom of speech. It's crappy, that's for sure, when they pick and choose and they blackball people like the New York Post for reporting on what turns out to be a true story on Hunter Biden's laptop and how that affects us Americans. New York Times says the story's okay. Twitter's okay with them. So this is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, so he has offered $54.20 a share, which brings the total deal to $43 billion. And he did have some stuff to say. He said, I invested in Twitter as I believe its potential to be a platform for free speech around the globe, and I believe free speech is a societal imperative for a functioning democracy. However, since making my investment, I now realize the company will never thrive nor serve the societal imperative in its current form. And a lot of people have been really hyped up about some of the changes that he's been, kind of teasing, whether or not that be like unblocking some people, an edit button, some of these other things. And he said his takeover attempt is not a threat. It's just simply not a good investment without the changes that need to be made. And so a lot of people were excited with some, Twitter hasn't really been growing in a way the other social platforms have been. And so people were really hyped up. I guess the stock price is already, there's going to be changes in the Twitter stock price today on the announcement of this news. But it's interesting because I guess he also is reconsidering. He currently owns 9%. He's made this offer, and he basically said if they don't accept his offer, he's going to rethink his current investment in the system. And so, gosh, I'm totally fangirling. I mean, he says it's not a threat, and it's like, it's not a threat, but it's like a supreme troll maybe. And he's like, hey, let's make some changes, or, and it just, you wonder, like, what is a Trump endorsement? Like, what's the effect of a Trump endorsement in a race? And we don't know the answer. And I think we don't know the answer of, like, what kind of pressure Elon Musk can put on, like, when you have that much money and that much power, will Twitter bend to the whims of Elon Musk? And I don't know that we know that yet, but they're in this like giant game of chicken. And like, it's fascinating to watch.
All right. Any more? Are you
I'm
done?
so excited.
I know you are.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of a big deal because it's showing, hey, other people trying to get involved in some of this stuff. So you know what? We're not gonna blackball you for these kinds of things. And somebody wanting to make a difference, I think, is the bigger point. It's not just about the Twitter. It's about somebody saying, you know what? I don't like the way you do these things. We want to try some other things here.
Well, and I think from a conservative perspective, I think, we talk about we're not very good at boycotting, and the left is way better at boycotting and pressuring companies to bend to their will. And here it's just a single person that's kind of influencing change. And at the same time, he's not trying to cancel Twitter. And so whereas, liberals are always out there trying to cancel some company over something they dislike, he's saying, I think we can make it better, and here's how. And so I appreciate that perspective as well.
And here's how this works, and I hope it doesn't apply here. By the way, so that's Hannah, Brian, Stephanie. I'm Branden Rathert. This is Wake Up Columbia. How some of this stuff works. How many strikes do we have left on YouTube for folks that watch on YouTube? Just go to YouTube, search 93.9 The Eagle. It's really cool because you get behind the scenes stuff folks don't get to see, where people are telling us they put it up on their smart TV in the morning so everybody can hear the local news. And people in some businesses now, in their lobby, they always have the TV on, and some people in their businesses are now starting to put Wake Up Columbia on the TV in the lobbies, in the waiting rooms. How many strikes do we have left with YouTube?
I'm not sure I want to tell you because I don't want to give you the false sense of hope that you can do whatever you want.
So we've been booted twice, and it's all BS stuff.
We've only been booted once.
Once?
Yeah. The first we got off with a warning, and then you quickly took that warning and just threw it out the window.
So this is Hillary Clinton prior to the 2020 election. This is Hillary Clinton, May of 2019.
You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee, and you can have the election stolen from you.
We going to get booted for that?
Probably.
I will bet you, because that's Hillary Clinton prior to the 2020 election. And she was talking about her race in 2016.
You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee, and you can have the election stolen from you.
And they're cheering, by the way. And you can have... That's Hillary, May of 2019. Not a thought. You think
you're writing the appeal this time?
You think we'll get booted for that?
Yeah.
No, but see, it was. I bet we don't, because they're going to say, well, it was Hillary saying it, so that's okay. If you guys talk about Trump and that kind of stuff, or if Congressman Billy Long talks about that kind of stuff, you're going to get booted. But Hillary Clinton being played on 93.9 The Eagle in Columbia, Missouri, I'm almost willing to bet $1 million.
That we will get booted?
That we won't. But I don't think I'm going to do that.
Okay.
Oh, I was going to say.
I'm not, because that's my thing. I'm not that confident that we wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a really interesting thing to discover, and I don't know that they're allowed to tell us what the algorithm is, because the only platform we have had an issue with is YouTube. And, you know, I kind of, in my mind, it works kind of like Alexa, that perhaps if you say the magic words too close together, that the algorithm wakes up and then bans you. And so we know when we played the Billy Long ad, it said something about elections and, we used the R word. It said the word. I don't want to say.
No,
it.
I know, right? But isn't that weird?
Was the election with an R? Anyway, so and that was what triggered the initial strike. And so I don't know what words are in the red flag bucket that if they're too close together, it sets off the alarm or whatever.
One of the things we did, I think it was last year. Yeah, it had to have been last year. We were talking about the Kansas City Royals on the base paths and how quick they were going to be this year and everything. And so I put up a post because Facebook was, and any of these, to your point about the words being too close together, was talking about how will defenses facing the Royals this year, how will they be able to stop the steal when it comes to Kansas City Royals players stealing bases?
You were so proud of that Facebook post, and I don't think anybody else got it.
Which is good that nobody else got it. But that's the thing. You have to think about that kind of stuff now.
And people are learning to kind of beat the algorithms. I mean, I know like they changed the spelling of the word vaccine with like X's to try to get around weird algorithms. There's a lot of references online to the corn industry. And so there is. So people are really creative, and they learn about the algorithms, and man, to work in like that division of trying to identify and catch these folks as they get more creative on how to get around the algorithm, I think is
It's popcorn, not cop porn. Popcorn. Coming up here on 93.9, the Eagle, we get an update on how, some of these things I look back, and even in our recent history, I remember gay marriage. We were all, the country was freaking, oh my God, the gays are going to be able to get married. And then it happened. And the world didn't come to an end. Because that was the attitude back then. And a lot of people were worried and maybe even correctly predicted, well, but see, you start allowing gay marriage and then other things are going to happen. People can identify whatever sex they want, then they can go play whatever sport they want. Even if they're a dude, they could play with the females. So people could say that. But remember, it was like, oh my God, the world's coming to an end. Gay people can get married now. I'm kind of thinking, even though we're kind of in the infancy stages of it coming back, school resource officers in the Columbia Public School District, an update on that. And then Hannah yesterday had a traumatic experience, and I'm laughing, but not in a mean way. I'm like, Hannah's one of the coolest folks I know in her demographic.
Wow, that makes me feel real special.
Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert. Inspired and on fire. 93.9 The Eagle.
Way that we work kind of as a collaborative team has been a real success. So there's a lot of distrust with the police, which is understandably so. And I think that's another important reason to be here, is to just reestablish the trust in these kids and in their parents and the rest of the community.
CPS officer and school resource officer Chris Williams chatting with her friends at ABC 17 yesterday. And I highlighted that because remember, like with a lot of other things when it comes to politics, social issues, it's the biggest thing going on and our lives are coming to an end. And I remember these activists showing up at the Columbia City Council. We can't put school resource officer. This was right after, by the way, a high school student was shot and killed. Didn't happen in a school. Right after a high school student shot and killed, you had these local progressives showing up at the city council, the activists showing up at the city council meeting. We can't have school resource officers. It's intimidating, and it's this, and it's that. And you heard this officer. By the way, God bless you, Chris Williams, for what you do, not only being a police officer, but being a school resource officer. Applaud what you do. My sister is doing the same thing, and I have much respect for anybody who is willing to teach kids and anybody who's willing to be in law enforcement. I sport my my black and blue, back the blue bracelet every day. As a matter of fact, coming up next month, and I think John Martin, owner of Pro Pumping and Hydrojetting and running for Chuck Basie's seat in the State House of Representatives. John Martin from Pro Pumping and Hydrojetting, one of the things he does, he puts on a lot of these Back the Blue events, and there's a big one coming up in Jefferson City, and I think he is involved in that. So God bless. But you heard the officer say here, he says, there's a lot of distrust towards the police. And you know who's responsible for that? I'll go back to the news, the national news outlets. All cops are bad and they're horrible. And all this, and as with any profession, yeah, they're unfortunate. We just had, I think it was a state highway trooper recently lost his job because he was fudging traffic tickets and lying. And that is unfortunate because you cannot defend that, nor does it need to be, nor should it be defended. But by and large, what we see on the national news outlets, anytime somebody gets shot, it's because they're black. He shot him. No, he was shot because he was resisting arrest, and the law enforcement officer was in fear of the lives of others and in fear of his own life. When somebody resists arrest and they go, like we just saw yesterday, video coming out, somebody's grabbing your taser, trying to run away, and they fight you, and you fear for your life, that's what happens. You didn't get shot because you was black. You got shot because you're jacking with the officer and they're fearing for their lives. So this officer is saying the distrust among police officers, and that is through no fault of the police. It is through the incredibly biased way that national news outlets handle this stuff, man. God bless anybody here on the front line.
Well, in a recent poll asked people, what's the most pressing concern for you? And 14% of people said reducing violent crime. What we've heard from our own officers is, this national media bent toward, the police has us at way reduced police forces. They're struggling to recruit folks and to maintain folks in the police force because of these very issues. Meanwhile, we're out here concerned about violent crime.
And I love this because I remember all the activists at City Council, oh my God, you can't do this. And now we're doing it. It doesn't seem to be that big of a deal. Welcome into the show. Coming up 8:35, Matt McCormick, Chamber of Commerce, is going to try to offer us some hope as it relates to our economy. And I did not know this about Hannah. I learned something new. I've been knowing Hannah, the producer, forever.
The suspense is killing me.
Wigged out by needles. How bad you had to get a shot yesterday to get blood drawn. How bad is this for you?
Pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Like in tears, crying yesterday.
Yeah.
It was that bad. Hey, by the way, Columbia Home Show coming up tomorrow. I'll be there from 3 to 5. It's happening at the Holiday Inn Executive Center. If you want some tickets, I've got some. I'll give you several if you want. You don't have to jump through hoops. You can just call Hannah, the producer, 874-9390, 874-9390. We'll hook you up with these tickets from the Home Builders Association show of Columbia happening tomorrow and Saturday.
Boosters for kids. I'm Chris Foster. Fox News. The drug company Pfizer says it plans to request authorization for its coronavirus vaccine to be given again to children 5 to 11.
Health officials in the U.S. have already cleared boosters for everyone 12 and up to protect against new variants of the virus. Pfizer cites a small study that says 140 5 to 11-year-olds who'd already gotten 2 shots were given a booster 6 months later and found that it bolstered their immune response. Pfizer also says 30 of those kids had a 36-fold increase in virus fighting levels, enough to fight the Omicron variant. The study has not been independently vetted or published. The Pfizer vaccines are the only ones in the U.S. that are available to children. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
The accused Brooklyn subway shooter Frank James is due in federal court today, charged with committing a terrorist act on a mass transit system. Police say he shot 10 people in a subway car Tuesday, somehow killing none.
Frank James, the man first named as a person of interest, then a suspect, is now in federal custody after being spotted on the streets of New York. A local man on Manhattan's Lower East Side said he spotted James near a McDonald's after seeing his pictures in the press and social media and called police. And Fox can also confirm reports that James also called the police himself, telling police he knew they were looking for him and shared his location.
Fox's Laura Ingle. Kentucky's legislature overturns a veto of abortion restrictions and another over transgender sports restrictions. Here's Fox's Eben Brown.
Chris, Kentucky's General Assembly is overturning vetoes of legislation from Governor Andy Beshear. The legislature is controlled by Republicans. The governor is a Democrat. The most noteworthy might be a bill that dictates only biological females be allowed to play on women's sports teams, not men who transitioned. Beshear called the bill unconstitutional when he refused to sign it, but the legislature has now voted it into law. Kentucky lawmakers overturned 22 of the governor's 24 vetoes, Chris.
America's listening to Fox News.
Economists are warning that sanctions against Russia could cause unintended damage in America, triggering devastating inflation. As gas prices skyrocket, prices for everything could surge even higher, making the current 40-year record inflation look mild. Hi, this is Stephen K. Bannon, and I urge you to take immediate action to protect your savings by opening a physical gold IRA with my friends at Birch Gold. I'm a Birch Gold customer myself, and they have my highest recommendation. Just text the word PROTECT to 989898, and they'll send you a free info kit on how to get started. In my opinion, gold IRAs are one of the best ways to protect your savings no matter what happens in America or around the world. And the best company to work with is Birch Gold. So text the word PROTECT to 989898. To get everything you need to know about protecting your savings with gold.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 8:03. We do have bright sunshine here in Columbia. Finally getting some dry time. It is 38 right now, and we're expecting a high of around 62 degrees. 37 right now in Jefferson City. Good morning, everyone, and here are some of the stories that we are working on for you in this 8 o'clock hour. We're going to begin with a traffic note. I just got off the phone with Jefferson City police dispatchers, and they tell me that JCPD currently working a traffic crash on Highway 50. Dispatchers are telling me the accident is on the tri-level. Now, we have heard from several listeners that there are backups, including Harley. Harley is one of our listeners this morning, and he is reporting that there are police cars in an ambulance parked on the Highway 50 off-ramp just before the bridge exiting Jefferson City. Harley, we appreciate that information. That gives you some idea where this is. This is the tri-level, if you will, in Jefferson City. That is always a problem at this time of the morning. Avoid the area if at all possible. Meantime, a collision between an Amtrak train and a pickup truck in mid-Missouri Centertown caused traffic issues, but no injuries last night. Cole County Sheriff John Wheeler tells 93.9 The Eagle he is thankful there were no injuries in that collision. It happened at Centertown's Oak Street crossing. We have a photo on the scene on our website. That is 939theeagle.com. That photo taken by 93.9 The Eagle listener Adam Brown. Healthcare will be the main theme of today's UM Board of Cure moderators meeting in Columbia. MU Healthcare's Chief Executive Officer Jonathan Curtright will update the board today. MU Health is building a new $232 million children's hospital, and they've also made investments in towns like Boonville and Ashland. UM System President Dr. Moon Choi notes today's meeting will take place at the Next Gen Precision Health Building. It's a $220 million facility. President Choi tells me it will reduce the cost of health care, and he also says that building has clinicians and researchers who work side by side in it. Missouri's Lieutenant Governor supports legislation that's aimed at stopping the Grain Belt Express line in North Missouri. Grain Belt plans to build a high-voltage transmission line across 8 counties, including Randolph and Sheraton. Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe tells Wake Up Columbia he supports Senator Bean's bill. It's aimed at blocking the project.
I can tell you that Senator Rowden has told me and many other people we will get to that bill. And so I think there's a path forward. But as you know, there's the Senate's been a little complex this year. And I know we'll get a chance to have some floor time on that bill.
The issue here boils down to property rights on one side. For the other side, it's more affordable electricity. Invenergy and Grain Belt supporters say it would be Missouri's largest energy infrastructure project. They say it would deliver millions of dollars in annual energy savings for 39 Missouri towns, including Centralia. And at this hour, in a few hours, I should say, the state Senate bill that gives final approval that encourages Missourians to observe historically black college and university week in Jefferson City will head over to a House committee.
Kansas City State Senator Barbara Washington sponsors the bipartisan bill, which will be heard this morning by the House Higher Education Committee. Senator Washington's bill recognizes the importance of Jefferson City's Lincoln University and St. Louis's Harris Stowe State University, the two historically black colleges and universities in Missouri. Don Luzader, 93.9 The Eagle.
All right, Don, thanks so much. Our news is brought to you in this 8 o'clock hour by Missouri Tourism. Missouri Tourism and Visit Missouri. Discover the possibilities. Visit Mo.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is 8:06. In sports, Cardinals and the Royals were rained out yesterday. They'll try to make that game up on May the 2nd, so it won't be part of a doubleheader. That was going to be an off day for both teams, but that's the way the plan is right now, a single game on May 2nd, the Cardinals and the Royals. Cardinals in Milwaukee, 4-game series starting today at Miller Park there in Wisconsin. Cardinals ace Adam Wainwright pitching for St. Louis. He won 17 games last year. First pitch 4:14 on 93.9 The Eagle. Detroit is at Kansas City tonight at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, and that first pitch will take place at 7:10. It's still hard for me to believe that Milwaukee and the Cardinals are in the same division. I still think of the Milwaukee Brewers with Harvey Keene, Cecil Cooper, and Gorman Thomas, 1982 in the American League East.
Harvey's Wallbangers.
Yes, what a team. Goodness gracious. And Robin Yount, Paul Molitor, no less.
And, of course, the team the Cardinals beat in the 1982 World Series.
Exactly. One of the best World Series we have seen in a long time. Sports brought to you this hour by Hemi Construction. Our news time, 8:08. Nate, thanks so much. Great job on television today, filling in for John Ross, and with us as well. We do have bright sunshine, getting some dry time, which we need, 38. And our traffic check is brought to you by MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to find a job or post your job opening today. Again, that train collision has been cleared. That impacted folks who were trying to travel on Amtrak, obviously for a couple of hours, but eventually that was cleared. Good news is no injuries. And then, as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, we have a traffic crash right now on Highway 50 on the tri-level, and listeners are reporting there are backups right now. Harley, one of our listeners, is reporting that there's a couple of, at least one, I believe he said, ambulances on scene, police as well. Just avoid that area. Right now, we don't know about any injuries, if there are injuries, but certainly there appears to be at least one, if not two, ambulances on scene. We'll have another update coming your way at the bottom of the hour and breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
I had no idea with that African name that she would be married to a white man. One of my subscribers brought that to my attention. Our black sister, Supreme Court Justice, power to the people, is married to a white man. She's fucking bitches. I don't believe this. Oh, God. Wait a minute. There he is. White man. Black sister. Ketanjate. Married to a white man.
Frank James. He's the accused subway shooter captured yesterday by New York City police officers. By the way, he had a lot of these videos that were out in public. They had been up for a while. Nobody said anything about his racist rants. He was distraught over the fact that Ketanji Brown Jackson is married to a white dude. And I hate to say this. As a matter of fact, I wanted to call Randy Tobler here real quick. Heard you covering this a little bit yesterday on the Randy Tobler Show here weekdays 4 to 6. On 93.9 The Eagle, the whole thing with race, this whole thing, and this is not about Frank James. In my opinion, Frank James, he has to have mental issues. I don't care what color he is. My point, Randy, and I want to get your thoughts on this, is the way the national news outlets have handled it too. We're looking for a dark-skinned subject. We can't say black anymore. And by the way, local news outlets do this too. When they know the description of the subject, they don't give it out. I can't believe that they do it. So from that to this, and I hate to pull that card, because we all have got that card. Some people have the black card, and I have this card that says, well, now if the roles were reversed, if you had a white mass shooter who had been online putting out racist videos and criticizing white men married to black women, BLM right now would be at the Columbia Police Station protesting. They'd be in downtown St. Louis, downtown Kansas City. They would be doing all of that right now. The national news outlets would be peeing with joy. Oh, my God, see? Another white man online making racist videos because one of his white brothers is married to a black chick. But when this is the truth of what's happening, they get a free pass. I'm pulling that card, Randy.
Well, you're right. I mean, I think it's important that someone point out the hypocrisy, don't you think, Branden? I mean, I've not heard yet one word from any media outlet except from Fox News and Tucker Carlson about the hypocrisy. I mean, we've had several mass casualty events where black men with proven, records, online, social media statements they've made, hating white people, right? They're black racists. There's no other way that you can look at that. And that's okay. I mean, that's fine. They're entitled to their opinion. But you don't hear Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, the DOJ, Merrick Garland, the media outlets. You don't hear them saying, well, no, we've got a real problem with, race-based hate crimes against white people in this country. You don't hear that. And it's objectively true. And I think, all we're saying is, hey, if we're going to call, one side out for hate crimes, race-based hate crimes, whenever there's an isolated instance, for instance, the church shooting in Carolina, a few years ago, my goodness, there was a hue and cry for systemic racism. And this is an example that racism, white supremacy is still alive and well. And, that individual, that young man, was just as mentally unstable and deranged and unpredictable and volatile as Frank James was. Clearly the guy is off his rocker and has a mental, let's just say the gun is loaded, and I mean metaphorically, for a guy like that to be triggered by, I believe, some of the rhetoric and the inflammatory stuff that we've seen from BLM and their media conspirators. Look, I think the media has aided and abetted the actual erosion of what had been a healing of race relations in the last, over the last 50 years. I think most of us were way past that, and now it seems like those lines are being drawn. Everyone's getting into their tribal tent or their silo, and it's a crying shame. And I just wish the media would be even-handed when they report these things. I couldn't agree with you more.
I agree with that assessment, because I had really felt like because we would learn about history and racism in school, and then I would say, I lived on an Air Force base for several years as a little kid. My best friend in the second grade was Bertram. And I'll never forget, I can't remember where we were, but somebody said, "Oh, the little black kid is your best friend?" It never occurred to me as a second grader. It never occurred to me that my best friend Bertram was black. It just didn't. He was a human being. And it seemed like, race relations were great. And you know who ruined it? It was the national news outlets, and they go after it, except the national news outlets, they're playing the black card. Candace Owens, by the way, a very staunch conservative. She happens to be a black woman. If you ever get an opportunity to hear her talk on race issues, it's remarkable. And again, this isn't really about race. This is about the national news outlets who are, as Tobler is saying, they're complicit with what happens. They create this. We played audio from a CPS school resource officer, Chris Williams, chatting with our friends at ABC 17, and he was talking about there's distrust for the police in the community, and I agree with him about that. Not just here, and not just in some neighborhoods here, but across America. Who's responsible for that distrust in the police? It's the national news outlets. Not to say no officers have done nothing wrong. I'm not saying that, but the way it is hyped, and then when there's no follow-up, when you realize, oh, the dude wasn't shot because he was black, he was shot because the officer was fearing for his life. So this is about calling out the national news outlets that are playing this black card, and it's frustrating.
It's just but it seems to be a vicious cycle culturally, Branden. You hear black moms and dads talk about, and kids talk about either giving or having the talk, right? And in a way, I think while like you say, there may be anecdotal cases of bad cops who profile and unjustly treat one, race under or over another. I think for the most part, police officers, judges, jurists, everyday people try to treat one another as, members of the human race with 46 XX or XY chromosomes. And we really don't worry about that. But, too often I think we have cultural perpetuation of these stereotypes. So, but there are pockets of education and family indoctrination that are positive. I remember hearing, Ben Carson talking about the talk. He says, my mom and dad taught me that when you are pulled over by a police officer, you say yes, sir, or no, sir. I don't know about you, Branden, but that's the same talk my mom and dad had with me, and I had with my kids. And it wasn't a race-based thing. It was a respect for law and order and respect for authority talk. And I hope that more and more people can recognize the absurdity of continuing to go down this road of divisiveness, stereotyping. All cops are bad. All terrorist crimes are committed by white supremacist terrorists that have "Don't tread on me" flags in their backyard. We have to, on all sides, realize that yes, you're going to have examples of people acting out with extreme behavior on any side of the fence, and there's a much larger majority of us who just want to get along. And the news media just needs to fan those flames because it's a 24-hour cycle, and we can't let them get away with it.
Yeah, and not only is it a 24-hour news cycle, but they have, and I know it sounds cliche, but a lot of these national news outlets, they have an agenda, and their agenda is whatever the DNC tells them it is that day.
You're right.
Randy Tobler, do yourself a favor if you haven't checked it out yet. In the afternoons, you want somebody talking about local stuff in a very compelling fashion. It's Randy Tobler here on 93.9 The Eagle. Before we let you go, and I know it's kind of early yet, any idea on what we might hear on your show today?
Well, I'm hoping that we hear some positive news and some feedback and comments just nationally on Elon Musk, hopefully returning free speech to the social media platform area, in Twitter. And we're going to talk with a lady who survived lymphoma and is doing a great job trying to raise some money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. It's an amazing story. Can't wait to talk to her.
Very cool. I'm excited to check that out. Randy Tobler today on the Randy Tobler Show, 4 to 6 here on 93.9 The Eagle. By the way, Randy Tobler, he joined us at the Boone County Lincoln Days event this past Feel Good Friday and had a chance to kind of introduce him to the crowd and get to know people. What did you think of our Boone County Lincoln Days event?
I tell you, I was so excited. First of all, you did a commendable job. I mean, that's a tough needle to thread when you're trying to keep an objective appraisal and make sure that you kept it straight down the line, taking all of the people's introductions right from their website. Yep. I got a kick out of I didn't know if you knew what Caleb Rowden was going to say, but your little homily at the beginning and what he said in the keynote were right on about common sense coming from the Republicans this cycle. But I thought it was great, and you did a fabulous job, and the energy in the room was just compelling, and it was really inspiring. Boy, it's a movement. I think it's a movement happening here, and you were a big part of it.
Well,
thanks for inviting me.
I hope so, and it's mostly I just hope we get a newer, younger generation of people that I believe probably share a lot of our thoughts as conservative, independent, libertarians, what have you, but that get involved at least with this kind of stuff and say, listen, what you're being told in school and what you're being told on college campuses and what you're seeing on the three major networks and CNN and MSNBC, that's not all accurate. And how they're portraying people that, conservatives are racist and against this, it's all lies. Check this out for a while, and I just think we need a younger generation of people in this party that do have some of these conservative values. Randy Tobler, please check him out today, 4 o'clock here on 93.9 The Eagle. We love you, brother.
I love you too, man. See you.
Coming up, we're going to be doing the Morning Bell business news with that little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you. And then we are going to be chatting with Matt McCormick, Chamber of Commerce, 835. Where are we realistically locally? And listen, I joke, I'm a Chamber of Commerce guy. I'm always, not specifically about the Chamber of Commerce, but then I'm a fan. I root for our city. I root for mid-Missouri. But I want to have an honest conversation with Mr. McCormick from the Chamber about what is happening and then to see if he can offer any hope for us locally. And then big home show going on this weekend. Last year it was a virtual event. Been a while since it's been in person. Some folks from the big home show that's coming up tomorrow and Saturday. Columbia Home Builders Association. As a matter of fact, I'll be there tomorrow from 3 to 5. The show goes on Thursday and Friday. They're going to be joining us here before 9 o'clock. Talk about some of the exciting things that I thought you might be interested to know about what's happening at the show this weekend. What's coming up in the Morning Bell?
Well, you kind of stole my thunder earlier, but we can't do a Morning Bell without talking about Elon.
Stephanie's Black. Call does it all. Look at it, man. It's sunny outside. It's going to be a fairly nice day. How cool would that be to be working outside today? You can do that when you work for Salter Lawn Service. Salter One Call does it all. And then looking for people with experience in landscaping, some other things. You'd be doing a wide variety of things. And I'll tell you one of the cool things. When you're working with Salter Lawn Service, here's what you find. Because I've been knowing these guys for a while. Stacy and his wife, his whole family, and what they do for their employees. Because people, it's a lawn maintenance company. There's no benefits. Oh, my gosh, they have great benefits. But what's really been enjoyable for me is seeing some of the people over the years that have worked at Salter, to see somebody like Steve come on as a new young guy, and he starts to work him way up. Next thing you know, he's like, man, look at the opportunities. Look at what I'm doing because of Salter Lawn Service. Check them out for job openings online, salterlawnservice.com. Salter, one call does it all.
Thanks for making Wake Up Columbia your favorite morning show. 93.9 The Eagle.
Like I was working inside the store and I catch him. That's good, something from the God. Yeah. That's good, something from the God, and we catch him. Always when I catch these people in America, we don't want any problem here in America because here life is good.
That guy's name is Zach Dahan. He is from Syria, living in New York City. He's the guy who spotted Frank George, the accused subway killer. He's being hailed as a hero. He saw the guy, called the cops, and you could hear him probably saying, he says, I don't want no problems here in America. And so, yeah, I saw him, and I did my duty as an American citizen. I saw something, and so I said something. And now we have got this guy. I love the joy in his voice, and he's being celebrated this morning as a hero in New York City. Right now, 8:28, time for the Morning Bell with Stephanie Bell. Business news with that little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you. By the way, starting Monday, this will be April the 18th. We are renaming the feature to the Daily Elon Musk Update.
Right? You gotta love him. I mean, he is like the ultimate troll, maybe. Ultimate Twitter troll, I guess. So he had bought a big share. He had 9% of the stock in Twitter. He was going to join they offered him a board seat. He declined. And today he said, you know what? I'll just buy the whole thing. So he offered to buy Twitter at $54.20 a share, which I think amounts to about $43 billion, and made some statements about, hey, you know, I invested in Twitter. I had hope in, you know, it being more of a platform for free speech, but I feel like changes are necessary, and I feel like I need to buy the whole thing to make sure that the changes that I think need to happen will happen. No word from Twitter yet, but really, I mean, just really interesting stuff about, you know, what can one person, I mean, obviously he has a ton of money, but what kind of influence can one person with very strong views on free speech have over a very large company? And how is that company going to respond? They've been kind of in this game of chicken the last couple weeks, and they're trying, you know, because they offered him the board seat and said, hey, we'll give you the board seat as long as you agree not to try to take us over. And he declined. And he said about the takeover attempt, he said, this is not a threat. It's simply not a good investment without the changes that need to be made. And there are a lot of folks out there who agree with some of these changes, with unbanning people, having more open practices, an edit button. You know, he's been teasing changes.
Gary says via text 874-9390, Musk is worth $270 billion for him, $13 billion for Twitter. Whatever.
Right.
Coming up, some hope for our local economy. Maybe Matt McCormick, Chamber of Commerce, is going to be joining us here at 8:35. Please stay with us for that.
Four out of 10 people are scared of the dentist. Willett Dental Associates practices conscious sedation dentistry to relax those fears. Make an appointment now at 573-445-5300 or at WillettDentalAssociates.com.
I'm Steve Rappaport. Tesla CEO Elon Musk offering to buy the rest of Twitter that he doesn't already own in a bid to take the company private.
It's a deal valuing the company at more than $40 billion. Musk is estimated to be the richest person in the world, though he's not saying whether his own money would finance the deal. He recently disclosed that he had purchased more than 9% of Twitter. The Tesla CEO says his proposal is his best and final bid.
Fox's Janika Sola, shares of Twitter soaring after Musk's announcement. President Biden heads to North Carolina today to address the nation's economic challenges.
The president is expected to talk about supply chain issues and inflation from the North Carolina A&T State University in Greensboro. In recent months, companies like UPS and Toyota have announced plans for new facilities in Greensboro, and Boom Supersonic has announced plans for a facility near the airport.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. America is listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 8:31 right now. Bright sunshine in Columbia. We're expecting a beautiful day today. More importantly, some dry time, which we badly need. Our high around 62. Clear skies tonight, 42 for the overnight low. Good morning, everyone, and here's some of the stories that we are working on for you. In this 8 o'clock hour, we have just received word from the prosecutor in Audrain County that a Kirksville man has been convicted of second-degree murder following a trial that got moved to Huntsville, a 3-day trial. His name is Sadiq Moore. The murder happened in the Mexico, Missouri area back in June of 2020. The victim, Chance Davis, was beaten and then shot to death in his bedroom during a robbery. He died in his fiance's arms, the prosecutor there in Audrain County, Jacob Schellebarger, telling us that witnesses came forward. These witnesses were threatened, but they came forward, and he is praising the verdict. He says the jury was very attentive to the evidence. Again, Sadiq Moore of Kirksville, convicted of second-degree murder. He faces up to a life prison sentence. Meantime, no injuries reported from Wednesday's train vehicle collision Centertown, west of Jefferson City. Incident happened at the Oak Street crossing. We have a picture of the incident on our website, 939theeagle.com. Columbia's mayor, high praise for the Gans Creek cross-country course. It's located at the Discovery Parkway exit, Highway 63.
And of course, the architects for it, travel the country looking at what are the attributes of other, college level and professional level courses that we wanted to emulate here.
Columbia's Parks and Rec says its proximity to Rockbridge State Park make it an important link of the growing park system. And the UM Board of Curators meets today. They'll meet at 1. They'll be discussing the issue of health care. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is brought to you by Hemi Construction in Columbia. Our news time is 8:33. In sports, Cardinals in Milwaukee opening up a 4-game series today in Wisconsin. Adam Wainwright, the Cardinal ace, pitching for St. Louis. He won 17 games last year. Adam Wainwright is 40 years old. He'll be on the mound today. That's a tough place to play in, by the way, in Milwaukee. First pitch, 4:14, 93.9 The Eagle. Keep in mind the Brewers did win the division last year. 4-game series. That's the home opener, if you will, for Milwaukee. So 4:14 is what they plan for generally. It's a few minutes after that. Our sports also brought to you this hour by Hemi Construction. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 8:34. Traffic check, MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to find a job or post your job opening today. Roads have been pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. We still have some issues on the tri-level in Jefferson City, thanks to Harley and some of our other listeners for that information about what's happening at the tri-level. Still not aware of the extent of any injuries, if there are injuries. We know there is a traffic backup due to the conversation I had with the dispatcher there at the Jefferson City Police Department. Technically, that is the jurisdiction of JCPD. Highway Patrol can help as well. We'll have another update coming your way at 9:03. We'll have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
It's exciting. It's nice to see this. It's nice to see everybody out here that has the same excitement that we do internally. So everyone's excited to see this thing opened up, and so are we.
Mike Parks heads the Columbia Regional Airport, and this is a real gem in our community, and that's not me just being a Chamber of Commerce guy. That's me, because it makes it a lot easier for me to go see my grandkids in Idaho. The airport's right here, man.
And you mean in the Ashland community?
In the Ashland community. So we got to do a tour this week of the terminal, the new terminal that's coming. That was his thoughts, feeling good, and I think there are some important things to that. As a matter of fact, Matt McCormick, Columbia Chamber, joining us. Want to get his take on it, but more importantly, want the honest picture of how nationwide inflation, all these negative things going on, how it's affecting us here, and then maybe he can offer us some hope. But I do want to mention this real quick. Hannah, the producer, is here. Do you know what this means? I got a message from our texter, 874-9390. If you're a newer listener to Wake Up Columbia, welcome in. If you're a regretful Biden voter, we're not here to go, ha, 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 we told you so. We're here to welcome you into this line of thinking. And if you're new or you're not sure about what you're hearing, I'll say this. Give Wake Up Columbia just a couple of weeks. And after 2 weeks, you're not liking the show or what we talk about, let us know, and I'll gladly refund your money. Hannah, the producer, He is a member of Wake Up Columbia. Message from our texter, 874-9390, probably our most common way of communicating. Says there's a problem with the delivery of outbound messages. The text has engaged delivery partners. Does that mean that, like, if we're sending out, if we're trying to respond to our texters, does that mean that they're not going out?
I don't know. It also says Canada short code.
I don't know what it means. I'm a 51-year-old white dude. That's why I go to the college student on this. I don't know this stuff. I don't know what that means.
You know, that is one of the joys of being one of the youngest in the office, is everybody comes to me with tech questions, and I 90% of the time have no idea.
But we assume you do because we stereotype. Oh, she's younger, she's intelligent, she's hip, she knows technology. The other 51-year-old white dude in the room is our news director, Brian Hauswirth.
It's great to see you.
Great to be here.
I'm 50, by the way, not 51. But
Fact check.
That's all right.
Branden can't even remember how old he is. Do you really expect him to remember how old everyone else is?
It's all good, but Brandon's point is well taken. It is a little. And I don't understand that message either. I agree with Hannah.
Well, I know you don't.
Yeah,
Stephanie, if I don't understand,
I don't.
Brian and I, by the way, thank goodness for Hannah, the producer, and Stephanie Bell on these things, helping me and Brian.
Yeah, my favorite is when I get the call from my law office and they're like, well, just patch me through to your technology department or your IT people. And I'm like, yeah, you're talking to her. So it's fun.
My name is Branden Rathert. Welcome. This is Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle. I hope you check us out for a while. Want to welcome you. Want to welcome also into the show Matt McCormick, head of the Columbia Chamber of Commerce, was at the airport tour the other day for the terminal. Your thoughts? How are you feeling about this and what this could potentially do for us?
Man, it is so great. Good morning, by the way. Thanks for having me. It was great. It's great seeing you out there, and it was fun to be able to walk through the terminal and start seeing that come to life. I know I flew out a couple weeks ago somewhere, and I was sitting in our current terminal, and all I could think is, man, I can't wait till that new one's done.
Same.
As I fit in the portable building, right? So, and all the credit to Mike Parks and his team. They do a wonderful job. But, yeah, this is going to be so great for Columbia, for our whole region, to watch that grow and to be able to bring more flights in and more people in and out and see the, and really help our business community, also with the business traveler, but also the tourism, whether it be for the university or whether it be whatever it might be, right? And so just a much better gateway into what Columbia and Jeff City and our whole region has to offer. So it's going to be good stuff.
Yeah, portable building, I think, is a nicer way of what I said yesterday, which I think was trailer. I think I used the word trailer. Yeah. I'll use portable building next time. But how important, for us, how important is it? You talk to businesses who are looking at locating here. At what point in that discussion, I assume it's pretty early on, are people like, what's the proximity to the airport and how fast can our people get back to HQ or whatever?
Yeah. Exactly. We hear that all the time, right? And so it's great being able to have flights into Chicago and Dallas and hopefully start seeing those expand as airlines are able to up their personnel, their pilots and such. But, yeah, it is so important for our businesses and for the business traveler and those coming in maybe for the university or something to be able to get in and out easily. And it's so great because, I was in a meeting yesterday and somebody said, the great thing about flying local is if there happens to be a delay, and you are local, you can just run down the road or you can head home if it's a couple hours, to where if you're in St. Louis or Kansas City, you're stuck there, right? So being able to do that, but also being able to fly out locally whenever you land, you're home in 15 minutes, or a business traveler can be into the office or back for meetings and such. It's such a great asset to the community.
And it is. And here's what I tell people. Well, but it's cheaper out of St. Louis or Kansas City. Well, factor in parking, your gas, and then the other thing is your time. My time is incredibly valuable to me because nobody factors that in. Yeah. Nobody factors their time. What is your time worth to you? To be sitting on the road for 2 hours. Yeah, it's definitely worth it. And I think, and my take is this is a new sense of arrival for the people, by the way, the I hate to use the phrase bigwigs, but the important folks, whether it be the medical field, the political world, by the way, the number of people, you would be shocked at who you could see at the Columbia Regional Airport. Sense of arrival is important. Matt McCormick, head of the Columbia Chamber of Commerce, hanging out with us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Branden. Matt, we appreciate you joining us. I know that, we've talked about that facility because the terminal that's out there right now, as you know, was built in 1968. In its aging, its presidents, I've talked about all the presidents who've come through, vice presidents dating all the way back to Hubert Humphrey, literally when that terminal first opened. So a lot of history there. I want to ask is there anything new to report about the restaurant there? Because that's something that when people were asked, they really wanted to see a restaurant there where they could sit down and eat. Are you hearing anything about any specifics on that?
Yeah, so a little bit. So, yeah, that was a major thing when I know the city was designing this airport, was being able to have food service both externally and internally before you check in or after you've checked in and you're behind security. So what they had reported the other day at the opening was they have that RFP out for the restaurants and going through that process to make sure that they do have restaurant food service there. The important part, making sure that it's on after you pass through security so that you can have something to eat or something to drink while you wait for your flight.
That's great. Thank you.
And before we let you get to two things, and I only want to spend 1 minute on this first question. And I preface this by saying, I am a big Chamber of Commerce guy. I pull for my city. There's a lot of things I don't like about Columbia, and it mostly has to do with politics. But I'm a Chamber of Commerce kind of guy. I'm not technically a member of the Chamber of Commerce. I want us to do well. I want our businesses to do well. But I'm looking for the straight story here in about, if you can do it in 1 minute, how the economy, we've heard the horror stories nationwide. Yeah. What's happening here in town, Matt?
Well, of course, we're watching things closely, right, with the climbing interest rates and such. But right now, I mean, things are still going good. We're seeing expansions. We're seeing businesses invest back into their companies. We're seeing some really good things. People are spending money. People are still shopping. One of the things coming out of pandemic that we've noticed a lot is a lot more local shopping. And people realizing, hey, I can get a lot of my things here locally. I don't have to always order it. I can get it here. So that's a great thing to see. One of our biggest challenges we still hear, and the reason we started our workforce development division, is workforce. We constantly run about 5,500 to 6,500 open positions in Boone County area, or Columbia MSA. And we have about 2,500 to 3,500 unemployed people. So that is still one of the biggest challenges, and so it's constantly working on how do we retain and attract that workforce.
And let me ask you, what are people telling you? And I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you short, but there's a lot I want to get to, and I've only got about 60 seconds left here. So the hope is right now it's not, sure, we're paying more for groceries and gas prices, but as far as business growing in Columbia, which will ultimately help us, right now it's not too bad. So there's the hope in that. What are employers telling you? Why are people not going to work?
It is a challenge. So a lot of what we're hearing is and what we're seeing is, people during the pandemic, they went to working from home or they went working remote and realizing, hey, I can work for different companies and stay working in my house. We're seeing a lot of that. But we're also just seeing, the female workforce, the women in work got hit the hardest during the pandemic, and a lot of that has not recovered still. And we're seeing, I was talking, we're doing better than a lot of other places. I was talking to a chamber friend down in Texas, and 50% of their workforce was a female workforce that has not returned back since the pandemic in some form or fashion. And so you're seeing that, but that's what we're continuously hearing from our folks. We're hearing a lot of what we're seeing now. And we're working on a survey right now through Columbia for the business community in Columbia to find this. But having a harder time to find those professional positions like accounting or graphic arts or things along those lines versus maybe not easier, but a little bit easier of a time finding their warehouse workers and things along those lines.
All right. Matt McCormick, Columbia Chamber of Commerce. As always, we can sit and chat forever about how we're doing, where we're going, what we can do to help. As always, if there's anything that you need from us, please let us know, okay?
Will do, and likewise, thanks for the support.
Hey, you bet, Matt McCormick, Columbia Chamber of Commerce. This hasn't happened in Columbia.
93.9 The Eagle. Watch the show on the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page.
Although a lot of regular Hyundais can do this, now I think it's worth mentioning that this also has a remote parking system that allows you to pull it out of or into a space by using the key fob, which seems very fitting for a futuristic-looking electric car.
That's somebody, some car expert, I think, from Car and Driver magazine, talking about the Hyundai Ioniq. Electric car stuff aside, I get, we have these autonomous cars, self-driving cars. This car has a feature. You can get out of the car it'll pull out of its own dang parking spot. You're taking all the joy out of driving. It's funny. I find it.
I don't find very much joy in driving. So I'm a happy person.
But see, man, you get a little two-seater sports car, manual transmission, drop the top, man, and it's a movable office. That is Stephanie Bell. My name is Branden Rathert. Big event. This hasn't happened in a while. Been a couple of years, but coming up this weekend. Excuse me. Getting excited. I hope you didn't just drive. If you were watching, by the way, on the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page, you'd be able to see commotion just happened in the studio. We encourage you to go to our YouTube channel and watch the show. It's the Columbia Home Builders Association home show coming up this weekend. Brad Young is with Tigertown Home Improvement.
Morning.
Thank you for being here. A little bit of history of the show, because it's, man, when it didn't happen, and it did happen last year, it was just virtual. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. A little bit of history of the show.
Yeah. Let's see. 2020, as everyone remembers, we had a little thing going on, and so we had to make a split decision of were we going to have it, not have it. We ended up having it. It was, a lighter turnout than what we'd normally had than the years prior. And then in 2021, we had a virtual show that was fun. I'm glad we did it, but just wasn't the same as, talking to people in person, handing out rulers and all the fun stuff that we like to give away at the home show, and
this is
really
a cool
helping people
event,
figure
by
it
the
out.
way, having been there in the past, because it's not, even if you're not into the home stuff, I mean, there's just a lot of cool things happening, and there's some folks that even cater to the kids a little bit, and I can't what do you and other folks taking part in the show and folks involved with the Home Builders Association, what is that like right now? Because when was the last year you did? 2019?
For real.
Yeah.
For
2019 was one that was like normal year. Everything was.
What is
was
the
good.
mood of you and everybody else getting ready for the show this weekend,
we're
which is
super
tomorrow?
Excited. We're pumped.
Tomorrow and Saturday.
Yeah, I am very excited about this. I think it's something that is good for the community. It's a great way for people to start looking at projects they're wanting to do around the house coming into the spring, and come to one place over a couple days, spend a couple hours if you want, spend 8 hours if you want, and go talk to all the contractors and wholesalers, distributors of all the products that you would need, and really pull your project together very easily.
So tomorrow, there's a chance of rain, high 64. Great day to go to the Holiday Inn Executive Center and attend the show. Then Saturday, sunny and 60. So, again, a good day to kind of be indoors. You're thinking about what are we going to do with the home. And this is, we see a lot of families going. It's something to do. It's pretty cool. Andrea Lynn Seppa with Andrea Lynn Events is helping to organize this year's big show. I'll be there tomorrow, 3 to 5. It's tomorrow on a Feel Good Friday. And then it goes again on Saturday. What are some of the highlights?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, we're really making it very family friendly this year. It's always been a family friendly show, but we're making it very family centric, where there's a lot of activities for the kids. We have bounce houses coming Friday and Saturday afternoon. We've got Sawdust Studio. You can buy your kid the opportunity to make their own birdhouse, so incorporating the building. Snapology's coming out on Saturday to bring their Lego building lab, so bringing that building to the kids' level. And then we have face painting, balloons, and a scavenger hunt. But the scavenger hunt isn't just for kids. We have an adult version too. So,
and I want to, Andrea, as you were talking about this, maybe I don't always communicate very well, which is odd because,
it's your job.
It's my job. But when I say it's a family-friendly event, not to imply that it's been only an adult-themed home builders show throughout the years. That's not what I'm trying to imply. It's what I'm saying is that families can go in. There are so your kids aren't going to be holding it. Mom, come on, when can we go? Because there are things there for the kids.
Yes, and that's what when the Home Builder Association approached me, that's what I heard they wanted. They want something where the adults can come and get those projects, ideas, answers, but also the kids can have a good time and be looking forward to it also.
Well, and so many of us are in that stage. If you have kids as they grow, you need to do home projects.
Yes.
My husband and I are looking. We have a basement right now, and we're like, okay, as our kids start to get a little bit older, what do we need to do to that basement to make sure it's meeting the needs of our family?
Right.
Yeah, and even if it's not something you're going to do this year, you go to the home show and you can start planning, talking to the contractors. Hey, I know the cost may change a little bit, but you can get some idea of a ballpark, at least, what you're going to spend.
That's Brad Young. He is with Tiger Town Home Improvement, Home Builders Association president. He's the co-chair of the Home Show, which is going on tomorrow. And then again on Saturday, Andrea Lynn Seppo has put on a remarkable event this year after basically a 3-year absence. This has had, and everybody's excited about this. We're excited. As a matter of fact, we're going to be there tomorrow, I think 3 to 5, and I'm really looking forward to spending some of my Feel Good Friday with you guys.
We'll be there.
And other folks. And tickets, by the way, they're very affordable.
Oh, my goodness. So kids get to come out free, and then adults are $5. And, guys, this buys you as much time as you want on the floor. You can visit all the vendors. We encourage you to visit all the vendors. And then seminars. We've got a great lineup of seminars. I mean, let's just go through a few. We've got the importance of the title process. Then we have I need a mortgage, what's available to me, getting your home ready to sell, what's the 5 ways to do that best. Then we have, I'm really excited about this one, the exterior container gardening and pot anatomy. Super cool. Super cool. And then the future of home ownership. This is where,
that's a big one.
By Good House.
Yeah.
Yes. So he comes in and he helps you do all the things you don't want to do for your home ownership and helps you put you on a plan, and he comes along and helps you.
All right, so a lot of things in Troy. I want to ask you, about 30 seconds left, like the one thing, not as president of the Home Builders Association here in Columbia, but the one thing, like somebody, you own a home and you want to do home improvement projects, maybe buy a home, just as a regular Joe Schmo like myself, what's the thing that you're looking forward to the most?
Oh, definitely Side and Stricker Nobi. Yeah, I mean, that's getting to go sit on the tractors and look at the gators and play with the toys that they're bringing. That's the big kids' playground. I have to say is those guys be there.
I'm glad you said that, because I thought, man, if they asked me what my favorite thing is, well, it's something about homes and how to do molding and a crown. No, it's riding the toys.
Yeah.
Our guest, man, thank you so much, Andrea Lynn Seppo. Andrea Lynn Events, who's put together one heck of a show this year. Brad Young, Tiger Town